Week energy on Big 12 today. Also streaming live on Big 12 Studios and powered by our friends at Modelo. The new college football playoff rankings are out. Texas Tech climbs to number 6. BYU and Utah hanging on in the teens. The Big 12 looking to make some noise down the stretch. Jam-packed show today. We've got Joey McGuire, the man building belief in Lubbock. Arizona State's Kenny Dillingham's going to join the show. He is the Big 12's walking energy drink. We've got rankings. We've got rivalries. We've got a little basketball, some Red Raider smoke. He's Ari Timken on social at Ari Sports, ARI Sports. Taman Turner, our producer Taman, T-Chain's over there. I'm James Westling. College football playoff rankings, week 2 or week 12 edition. What's up, man?
Yeah, you look like you've got a sifter of cognac, and you just got off the slopes in one of the mountain towns in Colorado. You look good. Also, the Black says, I've just read Steve Jobs' autobiography, and it's really stuck with me.
Traded the van for it straight up. Thank you.
You know it's gonna be 70 degrees today.
It's layer season.
Just like you're at a ski lodge.
It's layering season. It's quite chilly out there now. It is going to warm up.
It's in like the 60s.
Now, what time are you giving your PowerPoint today on mulch? That's what I want to know.
There's all different kinds of mulches, you know. You got to be conscientious of the type of mulch and the type of dirt you've got. It's a very important component.
Did you say I'm dressed like Steve Jobs today?
Yeah, the black joggers, the black shirt makes it look like you just read the Steve Jobs autobiography and it's really stuck with you.
The glasses too. You know, I'm rolling in some tech startups, no big deal. All right? You're dressed like the face of Midwestern Practical today. So you can fire those shots all day. All day long. All right, man, we got so much good stuff to dive into today. Kenny Dillingham, the Arizona State coach, is going to join us in less than 20 minutes here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. And then coming up later on this hour, we'll break down kind of some Big 12 seasons in distress and where these teams are, but also what could have been. Like a glass half full is, hey, just wait till next year when you think about Arizona State and Kansas State and Iowa State and maybe even Oklahoma State with everything those guys have gone through on the injury front. But the college football playoff rankings last night, the second installment was released. They are watching the games. Texas Tech makes the biggest jump in the top 10. They move up 2 spots to number 6. BYU plummets. They fall 5 spots to number 12. Utah doesn't move an inch. They stay pat at number 13, 1 spot below the Cougars. So Tech at 6, BYU at 12, Utah at 13. Your initial reaction?
Yeah, and Cincinnati enters. They're the 4th Big 12 team ranked in the college football playoff rankings top 25. So last week it was just the 3 in the top 15. This week it's 3 in the top 15 with a 4th entering the chat, Cincinnati at 25. So that's good. Obviously, when you talk about some of the wins, Utah has a top 25 win with Cincinnati being ranked now with Utah's win a couple of weeks ago over them. So
pretty ridiculous that they weren't ranked last week.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially given how bad the ACC is. And I think the committee finally acknowledging that to a full degree, where Virginia and Louisville were both ranked high last week, both suffered losses. But yeah, I mean, the top 5 remains unchanged. I think you can start to really sort through this, but I mean, the college football playoff rankings committee thinks pretty highly of the Big 12. Tech at 6. If Tech wins out, I think it's obvious that they're going to get a top 4 seed and a bye. If they don't, then I think they're still probably in, depending on obviously how the rest, where the loss occurs or when it occurs. But I think it's pretty obvious that Tech is going to be in the playoff field unless the wheels completely come off. I think there's still a path for 3 teams for the Big 12, but the most likely path is 2 teams. But that being said, though, I don't know how Utah gets in. I mean, Utah, to me, is playing at a very high level right now. And, we saw a couple of weeks ago maybe the best, most complete game from Devin Dampier in terms of running and throwing. But they've got those 2 conference losses. They need help in order to get to a conference championship game. Is it possible for Utah to get an at-large bid without playing for the Big 12 championship? That's the biggest question here.
So I do think it's possible. I mean, historically, based off of where they are now and where they would be if they win out, because teams in front of them will lose games because several of these teams ranked 1 through 12 still play one another. And that's not even throwing in the idea and considering that there could be upsets for somebody along the way. So Utah's probably going to be ranked in the top 10 if they win out. They should slide over the next month or so, or a little bit less, into the top 10, which would be a 3 or 4, spot increase from where they are now.
Yeah, they've got Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas left. So there's a good chance they end the season at 10-2.
Mm-hmm. My biggest takeaway was, I do think that the committee believes more in the Big 12 this season than ever before.
Yeah.
I mean, they are really rewarding statement wins. Texas Tech climbing 2 spots. It's almost like the committee woke up and said, okay, that's a really good football team, and the belief is there. Now, what I will say is knocking BYU 5 spots from 7 to 12 also tells me that they are very much watching the games and that they are scoreboard watching and that they are looking at how these games are played and how they are won. I mean, BYU got beat by 22. They didn't come close to covering a 10.5-point line, which we thought was rather large going into the game. And so I do think the fact that their metrics and analytics and then their one major road test, losing in the fashion that they did, really hurt them. For them to fall 5 spots was a little bit surprising to me because now there are 3 teams, not 1, 2, but there are 3 teams ranked above them that only have 2 losses, and it's because Notre Dame, Texas, and Oklahoma, analytically, when you look at the metrics, are ranked much higher.
I think you made a good point. That was what the ding was all about.
Taman, I love the ding. Thank you. Wasn't it all distracting? I'm here for it.
Great point. What'd you say? Sorry?
Okay, so what I said is that BYU, 555. So BYU fell 5 spots.
Right.
I think that...
Do you think that was too much?
Potentially, yes. Yes, I do. But I think that the committee is very much taking into account how you win and lose games. You go on the road, you lose to a really good football team, but you get beat by 22, that's going to knock you more so than had this been a 7-point game or a 10-point game. And I think the metrics, remember, for BYU, the SP+, the Ken Palms of college football, if you will, the success rates, all that stuff, BYU's in like the 20s. They're not in the top 10. So I do think that they're taking all that data into account, which they did say before the season they would be doing, and it's very much we are going to rank these teams, not just eye test, not star power, not all that stuff, but also what the data says. And the data says BYU is not a top 10 team, which is why I think they're number 12.
One of the things that I think is the most off-putting about these conversations, and it's interesting because I think a year ago we would come in here on a Wednesday and completely complain about the rankings and that the Big 12 wasn't being thought of as high, and so this year it's completely opposite, and we feel good about the rankings, which is an interesting dynamic, right? And maybe if we were covering the ACC, we wouldn't feel so good, or maybe we'd have a more realistic view of how the ACC is not very good. But one of the things I keep hearing about is like the strength of schedule piece, strength of record. And for some reason, even if you lose to a team, but it's a good team, that should help you, is what I've heard a lot of people saying. Like how could Texas Tech have jumped Ole Miss? Have you looked at the teams they've played?
Right. Ole Miss just beat the Citadel.
Right. But like not that, more so like the teams they played over the course of the year.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, but some of those are losses. Like I don't get that. Like Texas is helped by a loss to Ohio State. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's bizarre. A loss is a loss. I mean, I get that like not all losses are created equal, but they're still losses, Like some of those some losses are bad. Some losses are good. But that factoring into where you're ranked makes no sense to me. Like, for instance, Ole Miss. I'm glad Ole Miss is ranked below Texas Tech. But if the argument is, well, they've played better teams, even if they haven't beaten those better teams, like Notre Dame too. Like they're in the conversation. We know they're going to get in with 2 losses, but like the best teams they've played are the ones they've lost to. So why are they getting credit for losing those games? That's the part that's bizarre to me. Like I don't think losses should help you. Maybe in the case of a good loss, like a loss to Miami or a loss for Texas to Ohio State, shouldn't hurt you, but it shouldn't help you. It's a loss. The other thing I'll say, too, is this will not be the same case every year, but the automatic bid thing for conference champions, just like, and I've argued against this in sports in general. Like, I just don't think if you win your division, you should get an automatic spot in playoffs in sports. Like, I mean, I get the counter argument, but I want the best teams playing. And like in the NFL, you have sometimes really bad divisions. And when you have bad divisions, you have to have less wins against worse teams. Whereas if you're in a good division, you've got to have more wins against better teams. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In order to make the playoffs.
Uh-huh.
So it's bizarre how you get dinged for that. And I think like Miami is probably the best team in the ACC this year, but they're most likely not going to have a chance to win the ACC because of where they sit in the standings. They're buried in the standings. They need to have so many things happen. So, and then again, like the group of five probably doesn't have a representative that justifies a spot this year. In years past, absolutely. But I don't think like they're not even ranking any group of five team, which shows you how poor that. So they've taken away spots from more deserving teams that are better overall just to fit in certain criteria where, like, again, if Duke were to win the ACC, like they get the automatic bid, and I'm sure that the ACC would not have another representative because this seems like a one-bid league for them, and it's ridiculous. We'll see how this plays out. Obviously, things can change, but this seems like 1 year where it's foolish to have those automatic berths for conference champions.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for that. The thing that gives me a little bit of hesitation is, had that been the case last year, Arizona State and the Big 12 doesn't have a representative in the field.
Right. And like that's why I say like it's not the case every year, but
right.
there are certain years where it seems unjustifiable. I mean, you're not going to have a one-size-fits-all for this because every year is going to be different. I'm just saying this year it feels like the conference champion designation will end up knocking out some teams that are very deserving.
Yeah. And that's why I'm in favor of, and I think the commissioner has been very outspoken about being in favor of, if we do go to a 16-team field, you have the 5 conference champions and then 11 at-large, as many at-large berths as you can possibly have in a field. But you're right, the highest-ranked group of 5 team is South Florida at number 24 in this week's college football playoff rankings. From the ACC, I mean, it's a mess. Miami's 15, Georgia Tech is 16, Virginia's 18, Louisville's 20, Pitt is 22. Pitt has a non-conference game this weekend against, I think do they play Notre Dame?
Yes, that's game day. Pitt, Notre Dame.
Pitt, Notre Dame. And then Duke could kind of shoehorn their way in. So the ACC is an absolute mess. You know, I think I'm trying to figure out if there's a path for Utah if they don't play in the Big 12 championship game. And I still think there is. You know, at number 13, I think they could kind of back their way in as an at-large. But unfortunately, what that would mean is probably if Texas Tech were to beat BYU, if that's the hypothetical matchup in the Big 12 championship game, that knocks out BYU. And then you have this huge controversy because they played head-to-head and BYU beat Utah. So that's going to be really interesting to watch down the stretch. But these rankings, I mean, do these rankings make you feel better, worse, or about the same for the Big 12's chances of getting multiple teams, let's just say 2, in the field this year?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's been the case since last week and really trending all season. I mean, it comes down to the Big 12 being a completely different league top to bottom than it's been in recent history. And that, you know, that's a huge positive. We talked heading into the season about the need for this league to become more top heavy, to have more measuring stick games. And I think Texas Tech is that. Texas Tech nationally is viewed, and rightfully so, as one of the top teams in college football and having a ton of talent. And so I think what you do against Texas Tech is a good measuring stick for how good you might be. I think Utah is viewed pretty top heavy just based on program history. Mm-hmm. And then BYU to a certain degree, but I think there's probably some reservations about BYU. So yeah, I mean, I think overall the league is viewed by the committee as the third best league. 14 of the 25 teams ranked are SEC or Big Ten teams. So it's clear that the view of the SEC and the Big Ten is still head and shoulders beyond the Big 12 and the ACC, but it's clear that there's like a Tier 1 SEC, Big 12, SEC, Big 10, Tier 2, Big 12, Tier 3 ACC. And so, yeah, I think ACC got 2 teams in last year being that in that same designation. I think the same will be true for the Big 12 this year. I think crazy things would have to happen for the Big 12. They'd have to do something that hasn't happened all year. We'd have to see more of a league of parity the last 3 weeks of the season for the Big 12 to not get 2 bids.
So, based off of last night's second installment of the College Football Playoff Committee rankings, the 12-team bracket looks a lot different than where these teams are ranked. Okay, so 1 through 4 is pretty self-explanatory with Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Alabama getting byes. But then Texas Tech would be the 6th seed, and ESPN is still predicting that Miami will win the ACC, and they have them as the 11 seed, who's probably going to be your ACC champion, lock them into that 11 spot. And then the 12 seed is going to be whoever the group of 5 representative is. In this case, it would be South Florida. So you start looking at who are the 8, 9, and 10 seeds. The 10 seed right now is Texas. The 9 seed is Notre Dame, and the 8 seed is Oregon. So those teams, Notre Dame, Oregon, Texas, those are the teams that a BYU or a Utah is going to have to leapfrog to get into the field and be that second Big 12 representative. So we all need to be rooting against Notre Dame, Oregon, and Texas. We're all Pitt fans this weekend in the Pitt-Notre Dame game. We're all whoever Texas plays and whoever Oregon plays this weekend, because Ole Miss would be the 7 seed, and then Tech the 6, and then the 5 is Georgia.
Well, let me ask you this. So how many representatives do you think the SEC ends up getting?
Right now they're predicted to – I think they end up getting the number that's projected for them right now, which would be Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M, Texas, Ole Miss. That's 5.
You think they get 5 bids?
I do.
See, I think there'll be 8 bids between the Big 10 and the SEC. I think there are going to be 8 bids between those 2 leagues. So then you've got 1 ACC and 1 group of 5. There's 10.
Which right now there are 8 bids between those 2 leagues, but the SEC has 5 and the Big 10 has 3.
Got it. So in that case, where there's 8 between the Big 10 and the SEC, and then the group of 5 in the ACC, then Notre Dame. There's just 1 for the Big 12.
Yep.
So I guess the number to root for, to your point, would be 7, because in that case, and again, this comes down to the group of 5 designation getting an automatic bid, where the Big 12 could have gotten a large bid. If Notre Dame, Texas, and I think Oklahoma probably would agree as well.
Oklahoma would be the first team out right now.
I just don't see 5 SEC teams. Could be wrong, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, Oklahoma would be the first team out right now, and BYU would be the second team out, and Utah would be the third. That's your bubble watch. So, yeah, 5 right now from the SEC, which means Texas, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Georgia, Alabama, Texas A&M. Of those 6, we need 2 to suffer at least 1, maybe 2 losses down the stretch and get knocked out of this whole thing. Coming up next, Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. They were in the college football playoff last year. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. You are listening to us exclusively on TuneIn, your home for the Big 12 Conference, your official one-stop shop. Also streaming live on your screen on Big 12 Studios with Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. And when you talk to Arizona State football coach Kenny Dillingham, you don't just have a conversation, you try and keep up with Coach. How's it going?
I'm great. How are you all doing?
Man, we're excited to have you on. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. Want to ask you about, your name's coming up for coaching vacancies, but Rivals is reporting that, you've talked to your players about the process. How do you handle that with, the guys in your locker room? Because you're a very transparent, this is how it is type program. So tell us about the conversations and the relationships that you've continued to build with your players.
Yeah, I've made it very clear that this was my dream job when I took this job. And, I've made it very, very clear that my sister's my neighbor. My parents live 3 doors down. My 3.5-year-old hangs out with his cousins every day and my wife's grandparents. At the end of the day, you can't control what people are going to write, what people are going to say. I know the people in this building I've communicated with, and, I know those people can trust me for my word.
Yeah, it's funny. I always laugh when I see some of these rumors, and it's like, do they not know that he's from there and went to school there and your wife went to school there? Like, I don't know. It seems to make the most sense for you to stay at Arizona State despite maybe, I don't know, what might have motivated coaches 10, 15, 20 years ago. Yeah,
every coach wants the ability to win championships. I think that's at the bottom line. That's what every coach, every competitor, if you're a coach and you're playing and you're trying not to win championships, something is wrong, right? What are you doing? You're just out there in exhibition, practicing to practice. So I think for me, everything comes down to, man, can you be at a place where you're happy, where your family's happy, and also compete for championships? And that's always the goal. And we did that last year. We're still in the hunt this year for that same thing. And so we're just trying to get this place to be the best version of itself.
Man, you guys have had just so much bad luck with injuries this year. Your quarterback, Sam Levitt's out for the year. Have you and him had conversations about what next year might look like? I think going into the season, everybody's thinking if he has another really good year, he's going to the NFL. What can you tell us about just those conversations you and Sam have had?
Yeah, I'm not going to get too much into that stuff. I've always want what's best for my players and what their dreams, goals, and aspirations are. I'm already getting to live out my dream. I'm lucky. I'm one of the few that get to do that. My job as the head coach is to help our players live out theirs. And so when guys ask me for advice, when guys ask me, what's next, I'm always going to give them advice not based off being the head coach at Arizona State, advice based off of somebody who wants to see you achieve your dreams, goals, and aspirations just like I get to live out. So a little bit different probably than most. We don't recruit our own players to stay here. That's not our deal. I'm not going to talk a kid out of going pro if I think it's best for them. I want to see them do it. I want these guys to absolutely get to live out their dream.
If I would have told you before the season that you'd be coaching the majority of the year without Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson, and Xavier Alford, what would you guess your record would be to this point?
Oh, I don't know. If it's and buts were candy and nuts, there's some saying that goes after that. So I couldn't tell you what that would be. I love the way our guys are competing. I think it shows a lot about, the culture in the building.
Agreed.
The 100 guys that are coming together to fight and compete, scratch and claw. And that's what I'm proud of. And crap, we're in a good spot. We got to go. We got a tough opponent this week in West Virginia who's playing well right now, who's physical and tough and can establish the run. So I'm proud of how these guys are fighting and competing.
Has the rest of the league called you yet to figure out how to beat Texas Tech?
Man, I wouldn't call myself to figure out how to beat Texas Tech. Our players played phenomenal that game. That was a player one game, not a coaching one game.
Man, Jeff Sims has had some really good games. He set an Arizona State quarterback rushing record. a couple of weeks ago. Just the fact that he's still in the program and that he had, he's been to like 18 different schools, but Arizona State the longest. So what's he like as a person, and what are you most proud of when you think about him?
I mean, been to 3 schools, and obviously for him, this is the first time he's ever been in a system 2 years in a row. When he was at Georgia Tech all those years, different system. Transfers, different system. Comes here, new system. This is the first time in his career that this uber talented player gets to be in the same system 2 years in a row. Between that, he trusted the system. He wanted to be in it twice. He loves the people here. He loves the place here. I think that's why he chose to stay, was he needed to be in something multiple years, knowing that his opportunity would come. And for him to take his opportunity the first week that he got all the prep to go perform and perform the way he did, I'm just super proud of him, happy for him. He's an incredible person and an incredible kid. Like, he's just a great human being. And our team loves him. His teammates love him. So to see a kid like that, have the success he had after choosing to come back, choosing to be here, super, super fun to watch.
We're talking with Kenny Dillingham, the head football coach for Arizona State. As they said, it's 6-3 on the season and very firmly in the picture for the Big 12 championship. Your tagline is "Activate the Valley." I'm curious, now that you're 3 years in, and with the success from last year, like, how much have you been able to quote unquote activate the Valley? What have you seen, from a substance standpoint to do that, both from a fans and then obviously from a recruiting standpoint?
Yeah, from a fan's perspective, our games have been all sold out the last 7 games. We're probably about to sell out this one. We'll sell out Arizona for sure to end the season. So we would have had a full sold out crowd all the entire season. Going back to last year, we had a sellout game to end it. The environment here, people are excited. We're talked about on sports radio all the time locally. We are very, very, very relevant right now. The Valley is activated. When it comes to, we got a long way to go when it comes to businesses and donor support. A long way to go. That's the piece that I haven't done a good enough job with. I haven't gotten those guys engaged enough here. So obviously, I got to do a better job there getting people, because of all the excitement. We're still way behind in this other category, drastically behind from where we need to be. And that's the part for me that I got to figure out what I'm doing wrong, because it's, a program that I'm building all facets of. There are no excuses. And then in terms of just the recruitment, people are fired up. We've got an unbelievable class. I love our class that we're bringing in. So people are excited to come and watch a sold-out crowd with guys who play hard, see guys get developed, and I think that's something people want to be a part of.
Kenny Dillingham, he's a football savant with a Red Bull heart here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Coach, hey, you were telling us during the break that recruiting's going really well for you guys, and you mentioned that, you're looking at a lot of JUCO kids. Did that eligibility pass through that ruling where JUCO kids can play JUCO ball, go to an FBS school, have 4 years of eligibility? I mean, you may have really found like a really nice loophole in the recruiting pipelines for these JUCO kids.
Market inefficiency, we'll call it.
Yeah, that hasn't gone through yet.
Okay.
We'll see if it goes through. To me, I like dudes who get it the hard way. I love the underdog story. I love the people who have to work and grind and fight and compete. And I think there's a lot of power in people that are hungry. I think it's powerful. I think people that just want it so bad. And I think a lot of times you get that in JUCO. And, you look at Cam, not junior college, but, a lower level coming up. I love those guys. Xavier Guillory, we had in our past. Maxie Hanachor was a JUCO kid starting at right tackle for us. Kyle Scott was a JUCO kid starting at right guard for us. I just love dudes who get it out the mud. And there's a lot of JUCO kids who got it out the mud, who love ball, that I want to be able to coach and give the opportunity to play.
Talking with Kenny Dillingham here, Kenny, and I'm curious for your thoughts kind of holistically on the Big 12. Last year you had such a successful year and came from nowhere, and feels like despite the injuries, you guys are still competing toward the top. Texas Tech is a different animal this year. Utah too. I mean, what What's the state of the conference overall, in your opinion?
Yeah, the conference is definitely better. I think the bar was raised in the conference. I think people realized what it takes to be successful in the current landscape of college football. And I think, some teams, some organizations, some donor bases have really stepped up and raised the bar for what it takes to be successful in the league. And I think you can see that. I think you can see that with some of these schools that you just mentioned, that they're really putting their best foot forward to compete for the championship and compete for championships. And I think the league is significantly better than it was last year. And the thing that's really cool about this league is, there are so many, anybody can beat anybody any week. And that still hasn't changed. So even though the top kind of raised, the bottom, flew with it. And, there are no weeks off right now in this league. There are no weeks off on our schedule. Every week is a challenge.
When we look at where the league has grown from last year to this year, we look at the line of scrimmage. So many teams have gotten so much better, Texas Tech and Utah and BYU, what they're doing at the line of scrimmage. You guys and your rushing defense has been much better. You've had so many more sacks and pressure on the quarterback this year. Is that what you see, or what would you pinpoint in terms of the league is better?
Yeah, 100%. The defensive lines in this league are really good. You look at Houston, I think Houston's defensive line is very underrated. One of the best we faced. Their nose guard is phenomenal. You've already mentioned the other schools that get talked about quite a bit. But you have that, and then you have quarterback play. We have a conference that has really good quarterback play. And if you're good in the D-line and you have good quarterback play, you're probably going to win a lot of games. See the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's a really good recipe to win. And I think teams have recognized that, and teams are kind of chasing that. Good D-line play, stop the run, impact the passer, good quarterback play, be able to move the ball, score touchdowns. It's a simple game.
Last one for me, Coach. And you've always been super open and honest and transparent about injuries, maybe to a fault. I'm curious for kind of your overall thoughts on how the first year of these injury reports have gone, and do we need more transparency and uniformity across all 16 Big 12 programs?
To be honest, I don't care. I want our guys to know. I know there's some competitive advantages by just being open and honest and transparent. Some competitive, disadvantages to not being open and honest and transparent is what I meant to say. I want our guys to know I believe in who's going to take the field, right? That I have enough belief in what we're doing, right? That we don't need to do other things. We're going to stay solely focused on us. And that doesn't mean it's the right way. I struggle to be dishonest. That's a flaw in me. People can see through it. If I filibuster, I just don't want to answer the question. But very, very, very hard for me to absolutely be dishonest. This is not how I was raised. And then two, I want our guys to know we have full belief in them. I want, when Jeff knew he was going to start, I want him to know, everybody knows Jeff's going to start. The opponent, our team, let's go dance, baby. Let's go put our best foot forward and go compete.
Kenny, you guys have the TNT game this weekend, right, against West Virginia?
We do.
Are they on campus? I mean, we've talked to the TNT team. We've had them on our show to talk about everything they do behind the scenes, and they ask for a lot of access, and usually they get it. So is this like real world Kenny Dillingham? They just following you around with a camera crew all week?
They're actually at West Virginia this week before they come out here. And me, not really. I can do the media stuff, and that's great because that's what's needed to brand yourself in college football.
Yeah.
I really want this program to be about our players. Unfortunately, I have to be the focal point at times that people can rally behind because that's college football. Players come and go, coaches stay, for the most part.
Right.
Unfortunately, but coaches stay, especially that want to be somewhere, and this is a player-run program. This is not Kenny Dillingham's program. This is Jordan Tyson, Xavier Alford, Keyshawn Elliott, CJ Fight, Keith Abney, Jordan Crook. It's their program. If those guys show up on campus, I want them to focus on them because it's not about me. It's about them. So they're not here. They do a great job, but if they were, I wouldn't want it to be about me. I want it to be about the guys who actually, make this thing go.
How's your son? Is he 2 now?
3.5.
Three and a
That's
half.
how far it's been. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that means you're 57. But,
He dresses like it, but he's not.
but no, he's 3.5. He's running around. He's catching the ball. He's coming out to practice. He gets to go to every game with his cousins, his three cousins, and both his sets of grandparents.
It's amazing.
So I would say he's extremely spoiled. Eventually, we're going to have to start taking things away from him because he's pretty spoiled right now.
Man, I love your background. You got the Bo Nix jersey. Is that the stadium right behind you?
That's not the stadium. It's a reflection, to be honest, of the photo of Pat Tillman.
Okay. It's a reflection of Pat Tillman with the stadium backdrop.
Oh,
With
yeah.
the stadium in the background. That's right.
Dude, that's cool.
That's cool.
And then there's a TV reflection in the background. I flipped my office around. It's set up completely backwards of how it should be. I don't like not being able to see my door, so now I can see my door before. I have a phobia of who's walking in.
Totally.
So I have to be able to see my door. So my office makes no sense. My wife hates it, but I can see the door, so I feel better.
Totally agree with you on that one, by the way.
Well-
you need to see the door. Don't want to have your back to the door.
You know, the
Exactly.
way you run your program, the way you call plays, that does make sense. We appreciate your time, Coach. Man, you're always
I
so
appreciate
generous,
it.
and thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Go Devils.
All right.
Best.
Kenny Dillingham, head coach, Arizona State, here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We'll react to that conversation coming up next. Also streaming live on Big 12 Studios. This is the Big 12 Conference, and we are brought to you, the full-time fan, by our friends at Modelo. Coming to you live here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, watching us on Big 12 Studios, fresh off our conversation with Arizona State head football coach Kenny Dillingham and the college football playoff rankings, which have Texas Tech at number 6, BYU at number 12, Utah at number 13. It was the second installment of the college football playoff official rankings that came out last night. Now, even with those rankings, the current bracket, the field, would have just Texas Tech in. Baylor and Utah would be the second and third teams out of the bubble for the college football playoff bracket. But Kenny Dillingham, man, is he the best?
It's fun to talk with Kenny. I loved his answer on the availability reports. Kenny has been so transparent, and when asked about if there needs to be more uniformity, he basically said, I don't care. Like, he's not going to change. Because you'd think if I'm a coach and I see other coaches that I'm competing against that are not taking those availability reports as seriously as I am, that might change the way I behave in the availability reports. But I think his answer is the perfect answer from the standpoint of their record reflects it. And that is, sometimes you're trying to get that competitive edge against an opponent by not allowing them to know who you're playing. And let's just call it like it is. It's Kyle Whittingham who's, who believes very much in not letting any injury information out there. But what Dillingham is trying to do is empower the guys that are going to play to say, I have full trust and faith in you. You're my guy. Go out there and play and win us games. And that's what's happened. They have, arguably their three most important players have been out basically the entire year.
Yeah.
Their quarterback, wide receiver, and the captain of their defense, a guy who was instrumental in Alford in getting them to a Big 12 championship last year. And they have 6 wins. And they only have 2 conference losses. With basically missing Alford all year, Levitt being in a lineup all year, and now out for the year, and Tyson being in on a lineup all year. So there's clearly proof in the pudding. And let me just contrast that with a coach that's constantly playing musical chairs with the quarterback situation, like last year, where you're not empowering your players. And look at the type of production that he got from his backup quarterbacks in the last 2 years when he kept saying that Cam Rising was day-to-day. Right? They had some of the worst quarterback production Utah did the last couple of years, and their coach continues to think that it gives them a competitive advantage to not tell you who's going to play. So maybe there is a psyche within that locker room culturally that suggests that, like, being open and transparent empowers guys in a way that helps them play better.
It's a really good point. Yeah, last year we never knew who the starting quarterback was going to be on a weekly basis.
The last 2 years.
And it didn't matter. They went 5-7.
Their offense was terrible.
2-7 in the Big 12. Now, for Arizona State, it's amazing to think, first of all, since week 3 of the college football season, Arizona State has played in 5 one-score games. 5. Basically in the last 6 weeks, they've played in 5 one-score games. And they've won 4 of those 5. They're 4-1 in one-score games. So this is the second year in a row where they've had a really strong plus in the plus-minus in one-score games, which are the analytical guys will tell you coin flip games. I don't think that's the case at Arizona State. There's a reason they win close games. And then also, if you had watched Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game, college football playoff game against Texas, and you said next year you're not going to have that guy at running back, Cam Scadaboo. Oh, your quarterback's going to miss most of the year, Sam Levitt. You're not going to have an NFL first-round draft pick in Jordan Tyson, and you're not going to have your best defensive player, your senior vocal leader, Xavier Alford. What do you think your record's going to be? And you asked Coach Dillingham that question, and he laughed. And I'm thinking in my head, I would have said like 3-6.
Or 2. Awful, right? And especially given, what we know about Jeff Sims and what we've seen from him historically. And I thought Kenny also talked about Jeff Sims in a way that's really important.
Yeah.
This is the first time in his college career he's been in the same offensive system for 2 straight years. So, and some of that's on him for hitting the portal as often as he did, but it's a great insight. Jeff Sims is put in position to be successful this year more so than any other year simply because there's some consistency and continuity within the offense for him. So I thought that was a great insight.
Arizona State's last 3 games are this weekend at home against West Virginia. Then they play at Colorado. And then they wrap up their rivalry game at home in Tempe against Arizona. If they run the table, they put together a 9-3 season and a 7-2 record in Big 12 play. Now, they're probably out of the conversation for a Big 12 championship game appearance. A lot would have to happen for them to get there. But they're still in a position to go to a really nice bowl game. And then, my goodness, he wouldn't give us a ton on Sam Leavitt's future, but if he comes back and just the way they're recruiting, the way they'll hit the transfer portal, watch out for them next year. And I think that, we've talked a lot about these teams at the top. I also think that there are really 4 schools I've highlighted in the Big 12 that the ball just didn't bounce their way this year. They had so many unforeseen circumstances, so many injuries. I highlighted Arizona State. We highlighted Kansas State yesterday with Dylan Edwards, their running back, Austin Romaine, their star linebacker, all Big 12 guy, back-to-back years. He's done for the rest of the year. Toby Osunami, who's their best edge pass rusher, he's done for the year. George Fitzpatrick, their best offensive lineman, didn't even play a snap this season. And then Iowa State losing their entire defensive secondary, the pressure that's put on Rocco Becht, but they still figure out a way to get a big win at TCU. And then Oklahoma State losing Haas Haney on the 3rd series of the season against UT Martin, and it just spiraled from there. So there's 4 schools that what could have been this season and what could be next year.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say of all of the ones you just mentioned, maybe the biggest what could have been is Arizona State. Simply because they're 4-2 in conference play. They're 6-3 overall, despite all of those losses. And look, there's all different kinds of circumstances that go into all the different situations you just laid out. But it's crazy to think that they're 6-3 despite those losses. Truthfully, it's insane. And where they'd be if they didn't have those losses, I think they'd be right there in the mix with Texas Tech and BYU at the top of the conference. It's Cincinnati and Houston. They have that loss to Houston. They have the loss to Utah. So from a tiebreaker standpoint, they're not in great footing to try to get to the Big 12 championship, but who knows how this thing plays out. It never goes as you think it does. But yeah, I think, it's interesting. K-State's disappointing this year. Baylor's disappointed this year. But it feels like of those 2 teams, K-State maybe has the most excuses for it based on the injuries you just mentioned. And then TCU may be the most disappointed team in the Big 12.
That's the other one.
Because, if K-State were in, it's kind of been all year like this for K-State. They've been fighting their way back.
Yep.
It's been all year like this for Baylor. With TCU, they were right in it. TCU wins last week. They're 7-2. They're very much in this thing. And then they lay an egg in complete control of the game against Iowa State, a team that, defensively had shown no resistance in the previous 4 weeks and suddenly shows up here against TCU. So, yeah, there's all different kinds of ways to look at this thing in terms of, what could have been for some of these teams that have suffered major injuries this year. I think Arizona State, you have to wonder that. And yet, despite that, they've still put together a really successful and good campaign. They're bowl eligible again for the 2nd straight year. These are things that are not givens given where Arizona State was before Kenny Dillingham arrived. And then from a disappointment meter standpoint, I'd say TCU is probably the most disappointing team in the Big 12, given where they are and where they could have been.
And when you think about Baylor, Kansas State, Kansas State's been fighting, it feels like an uphill battle since week 0.
Yeah.
And their loss against Iowa State. And I agree with you on Arizona State in terms of what could have been their ceiling for this year. It magnifies to me also the win that Houston had at Arizona State. That is a signature Willie Fritz year 2 progress, future. Watch out for Houston next year. But also, Iowa State, I think, enters the chat. This is a team that started 5-0. They're 2 all-league defensive backs, the head of the snake, if you will, defensively, with Dom Orange in the middle. He's been in and out of the lineup, not 100%. But then you lose those two corners, and the wheels just completely fell off. Because defensively, they just didn't have the experience. They didn't have the dudes. And I think everything was magnified offensively. And we saw a flash of that at TCU when they get back on the right track with a win there. But I think this conversation also highlights just how crazy every week can be in the Big 12 the rest of the way. And not just the Big 12, but the entire country, which is why I look at BYU and Utah in the college football playoff rankings and where they sit last night. They're two of the first three teams out right now, but teams in front of them will lose. Every team at the top of this conference, in a lot of ways, still controls their own destiny. Cincinnati enters that conversation of we control our own destiny. If they beat Arizona this weekend and BYU next weekend, all of a sudden they're in the driver's seat to make the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. What do you think is the most likely Big 12 championship game right now?
Most likely BYU and Texas Tech. With that said, BYU would have to beat Cincinnati head-to-head next weekend. And I say that because BYU has a better overall record. They're ranked higher in the college football playoff. But, I mean, Cincinnati and BYU next weekend, I don't want to look ahead too much to that game because Cincinnati has to beat a pretty sound Arizona team this weekend. And I think BYU's got a scary one at home against TCU. And, again, this is the time of year where I hate the old cliche of you throw the records out the window, but a lot of nutty stuff happens. But if both teams win, that sets up a showdown. And all of a sudden, the second biggest game in the Big 12 Conference this season behind BYU and Texas Tech.
Well, TCU is going to go a long way in helping to decide the Big 12 championship race, which is a big reason why I said they're a huge disappointment because had they won last week, they'd be in good position. They've got, BYU plays them. I mean, you've got Cincinnati and BYU coming up, Cincinnati and TCU. So from a one-loss team perspective, Cincinnati still has to play BYU, TCU, and Arizona. I think they have the toughest road of any of the one or two loss teams, or one or zero. No, they're all one loss, right? Yeah, all the one loss teams in the Big 12 right now. Arizona, BYU, TCU. That's who Cincinnati has left. Utah has Baylor, K-State, Kansas. I think they have the easiest path. Them or Texas Tech. TCU, Cincinnati, UCF is who BYU has left. I think we're most likely to see Utah and Texas Tech, which is the matchup I want to see because, and we'll let this thing play out over the next 3 weeks. The last time we saw Devin Dampier, I think that was the most complete version of Devin Dampier. The Devin Dampier that Texas Tech saw earlier in the season, not the same. If he can run and throw like he's been, that's huge for them in terms of trying to knock off Texas Tech. I feel like of all the teams in the Big 12 right now, the best team position to knock off Texas Tech is Utah.
Agreed. ESPN's FPI Football Power Index has Utah 7th in the nation, ahead of Texas Tech. And Devin Dampier has bookended his season with his best game of the year, week 1 at UCLA, and then this past weekend, last time out for the Utes. All right, we'll take a break. Coming up next, we head into hour number 2. Give this man the Heisman Trophy. We're also talking with Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire. He'll join us live at 8:45 Central. He's Ariam James. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo. Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. We're also streaming on your screen via Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast channel on your Roku, your Amazon Prime, Video, DirecTV, YouTube, many other places you can catch us Monday through Friday, 8 to 11 Eastern Time. This weekend on Saturday, our games of the week feature Oklahoma State and Kansas State right here on Big 12 Radio, your official home for the conference at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Time, and then Utah at Baylor at 7 Eastern, 6 p.m. Central Time. You can catch both of those right here on Big 12 Radio. He's Ari, I'm James, and done in college football in the last 2 decades. He's got Manti Te'o type numbers, and he's an incredible story. Here's what he said about his journey and the Heisman talk surrounding Tech linebacker Jacob Rodriguez.
So I left the scholarship position at the University of Virginia, and I walked on here. And I actually had to take a loan out to be able to, pay some bills and pay for my books and stuff to be able to play football. And so I slept on the ground in my brother's apartment, for a whole semester when I got here. And I was just trying to make it through. And I think that was the biggest blessing with NIL, is just being able to, support everybody. But I mean, I'm very fortunate for everything that's, happened in my career at college, for sure.
That is an incredible story that needs to be out there. The fact that he was on scholarship at Virginia. He's from Wichita Falls, Texas, which is essentially the last stop between Dallas and Lubbock. He walked on at Texas Tech. He had to take out a loan to pay for his schooling, his books, everything else, and now he's a Heisman Trophy contender.
Well, and, we talk a lot about the blue chip ratio and having high-level recruits. And, look, there are guys that are 4 or 5 stars that flame out, that don't make it to the NFL, that aren't able to achieve the levels that some of the prognosticators have for them. In the aggregate, most of those guys do, but there are guys that don't. And the opposite is true, too. There's always the J.J. Watts of the world, the Jacob Rodriguez's of the world, the guys that have that hunger to be the best, despite, Watt, in his case, was at Wisconsin, I think at tight end, and then transfers to Central Michigan, where he moves to defensive end. I'm not sure if he was a walk-on in that situation, but similar circumstances. We heard from Kenny Dillingham that he's now, maybe the most active, Power 4 coach at the JUCO ranks. And, he said he wants guys that are hungry. He wants guys that are out to prove themselves, the chip on their shoulder. Like, that stuff matters. You got to get guys with an edge. And especially from a cultural standpoint, if you have established that kind of culture, which Kenny Dillingham certainly has, and I think Joey McGuire has, and I can't wait to talk to Joey McGuire coming up later on this hour. Joey McGuire will join us. We've had a great show today with both Kenny Dillingham and Joey McGuire on the show today. McGuire, I can't wait to talk to him about the type of player that Rodriguez is, because he's finally getting his just due when it comes to the national media, and really, quite frankly, when it comes to the local media too, because, I say national media, I mean ESPN, CBS Sports, 24/7 Sports. Not what we're doing. We're more localized, though we're national to the Big 12. But part of that's also because that defensive line is so good. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the Heisman talk, and I don't want to contradict you, but there are probably some fans of Arizona football that are like, what do you mean he's having the best season for a linebacker in over 2 decades? Because look, Luke Kuechly had 191 tackles as a linebacker in 2011 at BC. Scooby Wright had 163 tackles, 29 tackles for loss, and 6 forced fumbles in 2014 at Arizona. Okay, Scooby Wright had a ridiculous year. In fact, Manti Te'o, the year that he was a Heisman runner-up, like, if you're comparing Jacob Rodriguez's season to that, then yeah. Scooby Wright was, I think, 9th in the Heisman voting in 2014, which is egregious.
Yeah, it was.
Because of the season that he had in 2014. So, I'm not trying to poo-poo this season for Rodriguez. He has 9 forced fumbles. So, or what? No, 7.5?
7. Yeah.
7. You can't have a half forced fumble. My bad. 7 forced fumbles. I think the record in an individual season is 10. So, he gets there he ups that interception number. I think we're closer. Should he be a finalist? Yes. Will he win the award? Probably not. Most likely not. But I also think, like, just put it in the historical context here, he's having a great season, and it's hard to differentiate linebacker seasons, quite frankly, because you've got pass-rushing linebackers, you've got Luke Kuechly, Scooby Wright, Jacob Rodriguez type linebackers, so it's really hard to differentiate from a statistical standpoint based on, sacks and tackles for loss versus tackles and forced fumbles and interceptions. He's having a tremendous season. He's the best defensive player in college football, and he should certainly be a Heisman finalist. But in the historical context, I mean, you probably see these seasons once every decade, twice every decade.
I think to have his season stand out versus some of those other guys, and for him to have a chance in this race, there has to be a narrative. And
totally, that's Manti Te'o is the perfect example of that.
And I think the narrative surrounding Jacob Rodriguez is that he is the face of the Joey McGuire culture that you were talking about, with toughness and versatility and his leadership traits and everything that he's done for that program. 87 of the 89 Heisman Trophy winners have been offensive players. The last time a defensive guy, or a guy that only played defense because Travis Hunter won it last year, is kind of a hybrid. Charles Woodson back in 1997, the Michigan corner.
And even he wasn't. He's more of a dual threat guy too because of what he did in
special teams.
Yep. So there's been no true Jacob Rodriguez to win the Heisman Trophy.
To win it, correct. I mean, Manti Te'o at Notre Dame in 2012 finished second. Ndamukong Suh at Nebraska in 2009 finished fourth. Aiden Hutchinson at Michigan, not that long ago, back in 21, finished second. Tyrann Mathieu, Honey Badger, finished fifth for LSU back in 2011. And, the numbers is like splitting hairs. But the thing about all those guys, Manti Te'o was the emotional, leader-driven storyline, a 12-0 team that their offense wasn't very good, but defensively he was the story. Woodson with his flashiness and the fact that he was so dynamic in special teams. Aiden Hutchinson was an anchor of an elite defense that made the college football playoff. He had 14 sacks that year. And then Tyrann Mathieu, same thing. He had the Honey Badger brand. He was an explosive playmaker, special teams. He had 2 punt return touchdowns. He had 2 defensive touchdowns that year for LSU. So I think that we are in a spot where, the narrative matters. And for Jacob Rodriguez, that blue-collar, West Texas grinder, leading a defense that's one of the top defenses in the country, as long as Texas Tech keeps winning in a league that historically has kind of been built on offense, I think he'll be there in New York at least, and I think he'll have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think he's got a chance to win the Heisman. I don't. You just said it. There's really never been a true defensive player to win the award. The two that have were Travis Hunter last year, who obviously was primarily also a offensive player, and then Charles Woodson, who was a special teams guy that scored touchdowns through special teams. And so, but I think the recognition of being in New York is absolutely something that will happen. And look, I mean, Joey McGuire mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. It was sort of the first time we had heard it. It was like, oh yeah, you look at these numbers, and yeah, there's no question about it. And he continues to pile those numbers up, and the narrative continues to build. He did the Heisman pose. Like, that stuff matters. I mean, I think the biggest thing about, like, Scooby Wright or Luke Kuechly and those ridiculous seasons they had, Scooby Wright had 29 tackles for loss in 2014.
29?
29 tackles for loss and 14 sacks, along with 6 forced fumbles and 163 tackles. And he was ninth in the Heisman voting, okay? The biggest issue then, and I believe that was Rich Rod, was there wasn't a narrative around him, right? Like, who's Scooby Wright, And I mean, Kuechly had 191 total tackles in 2011. 191. He's got 100 more total tackles than Jacob Rodriguez has right now with 3 games to play, okay?
191 tackles.
Okay, that is ridiculous.
It's almost 20 a game.
I mean, that's insane. You're right. Like, 191 total tackles. So, but again, same difference with BC, where it was like there wasn't a narrative around him.
Yeah, they weren't very good.
There wasn't a narrative around him. Te'o there was, which is why Like in comparison to what Rodriguez is doing right now. Like Rodriguez's numbers compare to Teau's in 2012 when he was a Heisman finalist. Mm-hmm. There's no question about that. They compare to Derek Johnson's season in 2004 with Texas when he had 130 tackles, 9 forced fumbles, 19 tackles for loss. Again, it's hard to compare. Rodriguez is not, I mean, they've got Bailey and Romello Height to rush the passer. You know, there's times that they're sending him, but his primary function is to stop the run, and he's dominant at it. I mean, what he's being asked to do within Shieldwood's defense, he is absolutely dominating. But, like, in that, you know, how much from the Heisman discussion standpoint are you like, look at what Texas Tech's yards per carry average is on defense, and that's all because of Jacob Rodriguez. Like that's a big reason why. Jacob Rodriguez is the reason why they're at 2 point whatever yards per carry in the number one rush defense in the country. But, like, that doesn't, you know, it's just easy to say he's got 29 tackles for loss or, you know, 19 tackles for loss. You know what I mean? Like, so because defensive numbers are hard to really quantify, like Jacob Rodriguez is having a dominant season. He's the best player in college football this year defensively, but some of the things that he's doing are hard to quantify.
Now, do you think, is he, let's say he doesn't win it, is it because he plays defense, or are you saying that because you think there are too many guys at Ohio State like Slayan or the kid at Indiana because of how you think the rest of the season's going to play out?
For now, it feels like it's Fernando Mendoza's award to lose. You know, it's got everything, right? It's got it's the season he's having, the Heisman moments, the Penn State. I mean, this game we're just coming off of.
By the way, they wrap up their season with Wisconsin and Purdue, and then the voting takes place before conference championship week.
So, I mean, it's his to lose. And, you know, and that just speaks to this being a quarterback award. Now, McGuire's trying to change that narrative by saying it should be the best player, and that's not the best quarterback. We have awards for that. But, like, he's fighting against massive history that suggests otherwise. I mean, I think for a true defensive player to win this award, and I don't have all the winners in front of me. I'm assuming there were true defensive players that won this award back in, you know, the 20s and 30s or whatever. But in modern history, it's been two guys that have won it from a defensive standpoint that, you know, I think the last running back to win it was Derrick Henry. Like, it just doesn't go to players that are not quarterbacks very often. So I think the fact that you've got legitimate candidates at quarterback are the reason he's not going to win it. I think he's third right now.
Yeah.
So he'll get invited to New York.
It used to be the running back award. There's only been 2 defensive guys that have ever won it, even dating back to 1935.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
The first year the award was 35.
1935, Jay Berwanger won it. Running back from Chicago.
Yeah,
just Chicago.
University of Chicago. It used to be a powerhouse. It used to be a Big Ten program, if you can believe that.
Illinois, Chicago?
No, the University of Chicago.
Just Chicago.
Yeah, you never heard of University of Chicago?
University of Chicago.
It's like one of the top, genuinely, like it's like up there with Harvard in terms of like academics. And basically, there was a point in time, they were a dominant football program. They were in the Big Ten. And their chancellor decided, like, we care more about academics than we do athletics, and shut down the athletics. In like the 50s. So when things started to go off the rails, quote unquote, with money in college football, they were like, we're going to leave the Big Ten and focus more on academics.
Bold move. I think Julian Sayan's probably going to win it. I know Mendoza or Sayan. Like, Sayan leads the country in
not Simpson
passing rating. No, I don't think Ty Simpson wins it. I think Mendoza or Sayan. I'm actually surprised Sayan. I think it's because he's a freshman, hasn't gotten more buzz.
Yeah.
He's completing 80% of his passes. He has the number 1 quarterback rating in the country on the number 1 team in the nation at Ohio State. 24 touchdowns, 4 picks. Now, let's.
Now, I think he's hurt by the fact that they basically have 4 NFL receivers.
And everybody's like, is he just Will Howard?
Right.
Can you name me the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners? Can anybody in this room name me the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners?
Travis Hunter, Caleb Williams.
There's 2 of the 5. I won't make you do it in order.
Marcus Mariota would not have been 5. I'm trying to.
Mariota won it in 2014, the year that Scooby
right,
had that monster year.
God, who was before Caleb? Was a quarterback.
You're missing 2 quarterbacks and a receiver. The last 5 Heisman Trophy winners. You've gotten 2, Caleb Williams and Travis Hunter.
A.J. Brown.
No.
No, not A.J. Brown. What's Jerry Jeudy?
No.
What Alabama receiver am I missing here?
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith. Oh, that's right. Yeah, good call. Devontae Smith.
Who is this quarterback?
Wrong Eagles receiver. Who was Devontae? Oh, Tua?
No, not Tua. The guy after Tua. Who's kind of been maybe a bust in the NFL.
What the Mac no?
Bryce Young.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And you're missing one more.
God, Bryce.
LSU quarterback started his
Joe Burrow.
career at
Joe Burrow.
No, that's 2019, fellas. Who won it in 2023?
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels. Shows how much people care about the Heisman.
Well, I probably have a easier time naming Heisman Trophy winners than I do national champions in the last 5 years.
Okay, let's play that game.
Ohio State, Georgia, no, Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia. Okay, maybe I don't. Alabama.
All right, last 5 college football national.
Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama.
Who won it last year?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Who won it in 23?
Michigan.
Okay, 22?
Georgia.
Yeah. 21?
Georgia.
20?
Alabama.
19? See how far you can go. You're crushing it, by the way. You've gotten every year right. Who won it in 2019? Come on, they were the best college football team
LSU.
ever.
LSU.
Who won it in 2018?
Alabama.
2018 was not Alabama. They were 2017. 2018 was a program that won 2 out of 3, and now they are nowhere to be found, and they've got a coach. All he wants to do is complain about refs. Clemson.
Wow,
17
remember
was
that?
Alabama.
Sweeney.
16 was Clemson. 15 was Alabama.
By the way,
14 was Ohio State.
The first producer of Big 12 Radio, which was on a different platform, he used to have a segment. It was called Ryan's Ridiculous Takes, and these were just off-the-wall ridiculous takes. And he had a ridiculous take. It was like in 2020 or 2021 where he basically said Clemson is, and this was like at the height of Clemson's powers, Clemson is not going to be last. They're not going to last. They will not. It's about to end. This dynasty is about to end. It's one that stuck with me forever because it's like, man, he called it.
He nailed it.
And we were both like, what? That's like one of the dumbest takes ever, which was the whole point of the segment. We would just make fun of him for having a ridiculous, dumb take, and yet it's come to fruition.
Well, you know where it started? It started with, you can argue this guy's coaching ability as a head coach and how he runs a program, but when Brent Venables left, the defensive coordinator, that program plummeted. That dude could coach defense.
I think the Dabo Swinney story is evolve or die.
And it's been the latter.
Yeah.
It's been the latter. Coming up next, we are climbing the ladder, Big 12 power rankings. Before we talk with Joey McGuire, fresh off the college football playoff rankings, he joins us at 8:45 Central right here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. He's Ari. I'm James. Taman on the controls. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. We already caught up with Arizona State head football coach Kenny Dillingham. He joined us in the first hour, and we're about 20 minutes away from checking in with Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire. We'll get the Utah angle in hour number 3 as we break down, fresh off the press, the college football playoff rankings with Texas Tech at number 6, BYU at number 12, and Utah at number 13. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Every Wednesday we power rank. And what do we say about power rankings?
It's not good enough to just have things in this world. You have to power rank them accordingly. So that is what we do on Wednesdays.
That's what we do on Wednesdays. So much energy today on this Wednesday edition. Taman, take it away. It's our power rankings.
Number 5.
All right, number 5 for me. And I don't know about you, but I happen to think that the top 5 is fairly easy.
Easy
this week.
I struggled with number 5. I think it's a toss-up there.
I'm going to go with Houston at number 5. I think just the full body of work. Look, they did not play great on Friday night and still ended up with a win against the UCF team that seems to be surging. So, I look at the full body of work. I look at, they did lose to West Virginia, which was a bad loss, but bounced back, had 4 interceptions, 4 turnovers, -2 in the turnover differential, and still won the game Friday night against UCF. Shows, their abilities on defense. Shows how good of a coach Willie Fritz is. I think this year is a great example of just how good of a coach Willie Fritz is, regardless of how the rest of the season goes. But they got 8 wins and 5 seems maybe even low for where they are.
Well, it's a copycat league, and I've got Houston at number 5 as well. One could say Houston is much improved from where they were last year. They've been a tremendous story, but their season has been an emotional roller coaster. They are the notebook of the Big 12. Flashes of greatness, moments of heartbreak. You're either celebrating a huge win, falling in love, or you're sobbing in the rain. Houston at number 5 for me.
The notebook, huh?
Just a casual throw in there.
Just a tease to what
don't know
our
what you're
random
talking
power
about.
ranking is going to be today. Number 4 for me is Cincinnati. Quietly, they're at the top of the Big 12 in terms of that one conference loss. Brendan Sorsby has been really good. Tyree Walker gives them balance, and then Jake Golday leads a tackling-heavy defense along with Dante Corleone. So coming off their open week after their Utah thud, I think they've got a massive 3 games here to prove that they truly belong at the upper echelon of the Big 12. And now checking in at number 25 in the CFP rankings, they've got an opportunity to really move up those rankings. Cincinnati very quietly a potential sleeper CFP team here. If they could win out and put themselves in position to play for a Big 12 championship.
And that's the key. They are quietly still very much in the mix. And I've got Cincinnati number 4 as well. They're very much under the radar, even though they crack the top 25 of the college football playoff. Brendan Sorsby is still putting up incredible numbers. Major improvement from that position from last year to this year. Their offensive line is rock solid, but were they exposed against Utah? We'll find out this weekend, and I'm anxious to find out how they play coming off a bye week. That is a really sour taste to have in your mouth going into an extra bye week situation for Cincinnati. So how they bounce back, they still control their own destiny, but they cannot overlook this Arizona team on Saturday.
All right, number 3 for me, and again, I think it's...
You missed me last time.
Taman with the big intro.
Got it.
Number 3.
Number 3 for me is Utah. Again, I think we're going to have the same top 5 here. Yeah, I told you. It's pretty cut and dried right now. They are, from a metric standpoint, a darling. They're still, despite having 2 conference losses, a team that's trending up. I think we just saw, following their bye, before their bye, I should say, the best version of Devin Dampier we've seen all season, with his ability to throw the ball and really take advantage of a Cincinnati defense that had been really good to that point. It's obvious with their head-to-head loss to BYU that they're slotted below them, but I think they're on an upward trajectory that puts them with a higher ceiling right now than BYU does.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've got Utah at number 3. They're physical, they're smart, they're well-coached. They remind me of The Big Short. They see inefficiencies in the market, and they exploit them. But Devin Dampier is maybe the healthiest he's been. That was clear in the Cincinnati game, by far his best game of the year, and he's had really good games week in and week out. But in their losses, I'm not convinced he was 100%, and he looks like he is fully healthy, and I was super impressed by the way they dominated Cincinnati, not just in the trenches at the line of scrimmage, but they were better at the skill positions. They were better at the quarterback position. They had the home crowd behind them. They're the team that despite being ranked number 13, I think has the second best chance to get a bid in the college football playoff in this league.
Number 2.
By the way, have you been in La La Land while you're making your power rankings? Number 2 is BYU. Still the cleanest resume. Still the cleanest resume in the Big 12, quite frankly, outside of Texas Tech. They have the one loss to Tech. It was obviously, very much lopsided in favor of Tech. They dominated the game. But beyond that, BYU they have the win over Utah. They've been very good. They are a very deep team with a great defense. A true freshman quarterback might be their only hole, and it's not that he's a hole, it's that he's a true freshman. BYU number 2.
Yeah, I've got BYU number 2 for a lot of the same reasons. I think they have the best loss in the league, and that's to Texas Tech, whereas Texas Tech's loss was against an unranked Arizona State team. So BYU, I do think, maybe has the cleanest resume. Now, with that said, they've had to come from behind in 4 of their last 5 wins. The metrics don't love them in terms of how they're beating people, but the bottom line is they're still winning football games. They have the head-to-head on Utah, so I've got BYU number 2.
Number 1.
Yeah, I think this one's obvious. Texas Tech, number 1, best record, best wins, best defense, and they've outscored Utah and BYU 63-17. So if we think Utah and BYU are the 2 other best teams in the conference, well, Texas Tech has absolutely demolished them 63-17 in those 2 games. So Texas Tech clearly above and beyond everything in the Big 12 right now.
Yeah, I've got Texas Tech number 1. I think everything you said is spot on. There are. I think the question now becomes, and the talking point is, how far can they go in the college football playoff? And will they be challenged in the Big 12 championship game? Because they are dominating this conference in a way that, frankly, we haven't seen in quite some time. Definitely not in the last few years. The way they're beating people, the way they beat BYU, Jacob Rodriguez, campaigning for the Heisman, Texas Tech is the real deal.
All right, so you teased it a little bit.
Yeah, what could we possibly be power ranking today, Taman, for something random and fun?
Well, today is actor Ryan Gosling's birthday.
You don't say.
And James, has a little man crush on Ryan Gosling.
Little, Taman? Don't undersell it.
Well, yeah, he has a man crush. He's like a teenage girl. He loves Ryan Gosling. So the top 5 Ryan Gosling movies.
Well, first off, can we get a tight shot on James here? Camera 1, can we go to that one, Anthony? James says that Ryan Gosling is his doppelganger.
Ryan Gosling is my doppelganger. This is it. This is my moment. I've been waiting my entire life for this.
So when I think of, the audience for Big 12 radio, I wouldn't think that power ranking the top 5 Ryan Gosling movies would fit our audience.
Oh, man. Well, you couldn't be more wrong.
So when you suggested that we power rank the top 5 Ryan Gosling movies, at first I thought you were joking. Then I realized you weren't joking. Then I figured we should just make the joke on James, considering I haven't even seen 5 Ryan Gosling movies.
They're not all chick flicks. There are some action thriller bangers.
I have not seen 5 Ryan Gosling movies. I'm looking through the list. I haven't. So
I am to Ryan Gosling what Nebraska quarterback Dylan Raiola is to Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
That's the parallel.
But Raiola plays quarterback. You don't even act. I love you're just silent.
He was in Remember the Titans. There's that.
That's one.
See? Sports things.
No, I'm not trying
He's married to Eva Mendes, who is 8 years older than Ryan Gosling. Eva Mendes. You know
Yeah.
who that is?
Yeah.
Smoke show. That's my celebrity crush. Has been since I was like 12 years old.
I can Google her. I'm sure I know what she looks like. Here's the deal.
She was Will Ferrell's wife in The Other Guys.
Oh.
That's all you need to know.
Okay.
Still haven't seen that one.
All right.
You haven't seen The Other Guys?
No.
Oh, man. Ari. Great movie.
Great. Interesting.
All right, so we're going to power rank our top 5 Ryan Gosling movies.
There you
Okay,
go.
should I just rank mine 1 through 5 since he hasn't seen any?
I'll join you at 3.
You're going to chime in at 3. Okay.
Okay, I'll go 4.
All right.
I can start at 4.
Okay.
And in the meantime, I'm just going to make fun of you.
Okay, number 5. It's a classic. It's maybe too low on this list, but The Notebook. Okay, you knew it was coming. Classic. Every time it rains, you've got Rachel McAdams showing up at your doorstep. It's a heartbreaker. Ryan Gosling. It really put him on the map in a lot of ways. Even though he was in Remember the Titans as a defensive back, had a small role there. The Notebook is the number one. I would say the number one romantic. It's not even a comedy, just movie of all time. It's a classic. You haven't seen it? You've never had who is your now wife make you watch The Notebook?
No. Never. Never seen it.
Taman, have you seen it?
No, I don't think my wife
You've
would.
never seen The Notebook?
No, I will say this. My first job
Man.
was the movie theater, and it was there, but I had no desire to watch it.
Okay. All right, number 4. Number 4?
Go ahead.
The Gray Man. The Gray Man was on Netflix. It's an action thriller. He's a weapon. He's a ghost. He's a one-man transfer portal. He doesn't have a lot of lines in this movie, but it's just badassery. It's got some John Wick vibes to it. The Gray Man on Netflix checks it at number 4.
I guess I could start here because I have seen 4 Ryan Gosling movies.
Okay.
So I will go with Remember the Titans at number 4. It's a classic Ryan Gosling film. I mean,
Plays a huge part.
the biggest part he plays in it is probably singing. Is that fair?
Does he sing in Remember the Titans?
I know you want to leave me.
Yeah.
So, Remember the Titans, number 4.
Number 3.
Number 3, have you seen The Big Short?
Seen The Big Short.
Okay. The Big Short is about the 2008 financial collapse, the housing market collapse. It's based on a true story. He's teaching Wall Street to eat itself. The Big Short. Number 3 on my list.
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with The Big Short, number 3.
Are
Really
you doing
good
your
movie.
rankings in real time?
Yeah.
The Big Short that's an American, it's a classic.
No, it's a very
8 out of 10.
It's a very good movie.
8 out of 10 on IMDb.
Adam McKay does a really
90%
good
on
job.
Rotten Tomatoes.
I think Adam McKay, who was known previously for doing comedy movies, has done a really good job of mixing like serious drama with comedy, like the movie Vice. He did that. It's also funny and good as well. Big Short falls into that category. The Big Short has such a good cast, I forgot Ryan Gosling was in it.
Yeah, it's a loaded cast.
Because what's his name, who plays like an autistic guy,
Yep.
is so good in that movie. And so is Steve Carell. I forget that Ryan Gosling's even in the movie. Why can I not remember that actor's name?
Yeah,
Batman.
yeah, Batman.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, thank you.
Yeah, he's so good in that. Like, so that's where it's like, oh yeah, Ryan Gosling's also in that movie too.
I had to
we are.
watch that movie 4 times to even understand what was happening. It's very businessy. Like it took a minute to wrap my mind around what was actually going on there.
Yeah.
Number 2.
All right, number 2 for me. Have you seen the movie Drive?
No.
He's a silent assassin. He barely talks in the movie, but every scene he drips with swagger. Very much.
So far,
John
every
Wick
movie,
like.
you'd be like, well, he's barely in it, other than The Notebook. Well, he doesn't talk or say anything, but man, does he do a great job of being Ryan Gosling.
The movie's just
mean-
straight action. Straight action banger.
It feels like you don't just have a man crush on Ryan Gosling. That's all I'm saying. Feels like you've got a crush on Ryan Gosling.
The Drive, again, 7.9 out of 10. Came out in 2011. He's a Hollywood stuntman who moonlights as a getaway driver for criminals.
Great premise.
It's got awesome, fight scenes and car chase scenes. Checks all the boxes. All right?
What are the boxes?
The boxes are action, thriller, awesomeness.
Probably checks all 3 of those. You should do the marketing for movies. This one checks all the boxes. Awesomeness, action, thriller.
Man things.
Number 1.
All right, number 1. Who you got?
Wait, did I give my number 2?
No, I don't think so. Who's your number 2?
Okay, now I'm trying to remember if I have seen 4, if I need to move them all up. There had to be another one. There's Remember the Titans. There's
Place Beyond the Pines.
no.
Another sleeper pick.
So I'm saving one of these for number 1.
Why do you guys hate Ryan Gosling so much?
No, it's not that I hate him. It's
question?
that
Yeah.
I'm a 40-year-old man with 2 children, and
So you haven't seen The Drive, Big Short, and The Gray Man?
I've seen
Place
Big
Beyond the
Short.
Pines. These are all action thrillers.
I've seen The Big
All
Short.
right.
Go ahead. You gave your number 2? My number 1's La La Land. I have seen that movie. It's really good. I do like musicals. He's fantastic at it. That's one you can't say, well, he doesn't have many lines or doesn't do this. He's barely in it.
You're making fun of me for being a fan of Ryan Gosling, and then you toss in, I'm a huge fan of musicals.
Okay, maybe not a huge fan. I'm a fan of
I
musicals.
like a good musical.
Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. They're brilliantly written. I mean,
That
Hamilton's
man
one of the
card
greatest. Hamilton's one of the greatest shows ever.
It is a great show. We saw it live here in Dallas, too. It's
fantastic.
It is exceptional.
There's so many good
Have
ones.
you heard the soundtrack?
And I went in.
It's bumping.
Have I heard the soundtrack? Please, I've committed it to memory. Are you kidding? It's amazing. Not throwing away my shot. Well, I'm not, maybe we should just power rank the top 5 Lin-Manuel Miranda movies.
I don't think we should do that.
While we're
All
at
right.
it. All right, so but La La Land, I was reluctantly pulled in to watch the movie, and that was one of those where you're like hate watching it, and then suddenly you're like dancing and singing. Like you're
Yeah.
like, I don't want to watch this. This is stupid. I don't like this. And then like you're like, oh, I love Emma Stone. She's great.
Hamilton, The Greatest Showman. All right, number 1 is the Barbie movie. My wife made me go
You
see it in
would.
theaters, and it was exceptional, guys. It's phenomenal. It's so damn funny. Pete Gosling, Pete Chaos. He turned Ken into a national movement. That is it. All right, you got a number 1? Because we've got Joey McGuire
La La
standing
Land.
by.
La La Land.
number 1.
I skipped 2.
Texas Tech head football coach Joey McGuire after the break. 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. You are listening to us exclusively on TuneIn. You are watching us on Big 12 Studios. Ari Timken, James Westling, Taman on the controls. We welcome in the head football coach of Texas Tech, ranked number 6 in the recent college football playoff rankings, Joey McGuire. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate your time. This time of year, I cannot imagine everything you have going on behind the scenes. And I'd love to know, last night with the college football playoff rankings coming out, what's it like for you guys? Do you guys gather as a team? Is it like Selection Sunday for basketball? I mean, what was the setup?
We were actually walking off the practice field. So, the guys were showering. And, Tuesday nights, whenever we win, we have victory dinner. So you're going to get steak. And I think we had steak and lobster last night. And so those guys were doing that. I actually did run up here and flip on the TV and kind of see where we're at and listen to all the guys talk about each team.
Yeah, I mean, so Jacob Rodriguez, you've done a really good job because we know from the Heisman Trophy standpoint, so much of it is about positioning, branding, narrative, and you've done a really good job to help to build that. And Rodriguez flashed the Heisman pose during the game. Have you ever seen, you've been around football a long time, Joey, have you ever seen a defensive player have the season he's having, 1? And 2, can you just speak to what people maybe don't see in terms of his leadership and then his ability to dominate within Shield Wood's defense?
The thing that I have really jumped on the bandwagon of trying to get into New York is just how he affects the game in the turnover area. Like if you're sitting there and you're talking about if you win the turnover battle, how the percentage of winning the game goes up, and this dude is just creating turnover after turnover. I think we're 3 or 4 away from setting the single season record. I know Dowdy's checking that for me, to kind of use, and he's just something, man, and people play off of him. He's taking that, really taking that to heart, knocking the football out. And then, man, he is a great human. It's a great story from him being a walk-on after being a scholarship player at Virginia, playing quarterback, now playing linebacker. And then his wife's an absolute rock star. She's in the military. She's a Black Hawk pilot. And she's incredible. So it's just such a great story. And it's a guy that's playing at such a high level. I mean, he is really affecting games. Not only just tackling the football, but taking the football away.
Joey, what did you like most about the way your team played in that win over BYU?
I thought we did a good job stopping the run. They had coming into the game, number 1 running back in the Big 12 and LJ, big running back. They're big up front in the O-line. And then, I don't know how big that quarterback is. I mean, I think they list him like at 225, 230. He's seems like more like 260. And I thought we tackled really well and we stopped the run. And that allowed us, we talk about it all the time, stop the run, you earn the right to rush the passer. And that allowed us to let our edge guys go to work.
One of the things I think that sort of bothers me about the narrative around Texas Tech this year is the money side. And, top 10 in money, but that's, not number 1, not number 2, not number 3, right? Like, so there's teams in front of you that have spent more money, and yet those teams aren't being talked about from a money standpoint. And then I go back to, like, we said this to you at Big 12 Media Days, like, it's on you now as the coach because the talent is there. So, I'm just curious, how have you been able to build that camaraderie, that chemistry with a group that includes a lot of newcomers and a lot of guys that have played at multiple different programs?
It starts with having Baron Morton and Jacob Rodriguez, Raj Ramirez, Corey Aiken. I can go on and on. The guys that have been with me since I got here. I think that's a big part of this because, they understand this is what we do. And I think what they can do is they were able to validate or explain to all these new guys, hey, this is how it is, man. Like, when you come into this building, it's going to be the same way every day. Whenever he tells you every single person that's employed at Texas Tech are here to make you a better person, to take care of your body, to make sure you're, taking care of your academics, like everybody in this building, it's all about the player. And so whenever they see that, they've been other places to where people said it was that, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, or somebody had a bad day and this and that. And so I think they appreciate, whenever I told them, if you come here, you're going to play your best football. We're going to make sure you're in a state-of-the-art facility to take care of your body, and you're going to enjoy coming in the building every single day. And that's happened, so they believe and trust that, and I think that has brought them closer and closer together.
Joey, how does this – we're talking with Texas Tech football coach Joey McGuire here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. How does this team compare from a chemistry, all the things you were talking about there, and the culture and the buy-in and the locker room, just the feel that this team has? Is it different from your other three teams at Texas Tech? Has it just been elevated to another level, or were all those other teams on the same page too?
We had some – I was really proud of how we were able to bring the team together year one. I think there was a lot of buy-in in a hurry. They were an older group, so that really helped because this group's a really older group. But I feel like we've had really healthy locker rooms. We just at times, be honest, we got better players like David Bailey and Romello Height and Lee Hunter and guys like that. The other thing, knock on wood, we've been healthier. Like year two, I felt like we were going to be a really good team, and we go into BYU with a freshman quarterback. It's like that's hard to win at a high level whenever you're having injuries like that, and we've had to deal with some injuries, but we've been pretty healthy overall. And I do think that's the magic. If you come to Texas Tech, the most important thing we have in this program are our players, and I think you'll feel that every single day.
You have, and you mentioned this on game day with Coach Saban, you have so many coaches that you have relationships with based on, your time, obviously, as a contemporary, but also at Cedar Hill. I'm curious, do you have ongoing conversations with some of those coaches? Are you asking for advice, or is that something kind of you save for the off season when you're in season, you're doing your own thing?
The guys that I talk to in season, Matt Rule, of course, and Jeff Traylor. Those are my two go-tos all the time, all season long and then, all year long. But there's other coaches, that I talk to in the off season. And then really the guy that needs some credit too is Grant McCaslin. That's my go-to. I think it was after the Utah. It was after the Utah game. And I was, I usually get out and try to get a little walk in and get some sun and everything. And I called him and I said, man, we are struggling penalty-wise, and just some of the stuff that you would talk about and what's important and stuff like that. So that's what's so great, man. I've got such an incredible guy like Grant McCaslin. I can just pick up the phone or run over to his office or anything like that.
Man, that's phenomenal. He's the men's basketball coach at Texas Tech, Grant McCaslin. You coach football. What are those conversations like? I'd love to be a fly on the wall for
you guys
those.
are cut from the same cloth. Very similar personalities, very genuine people, both of you guys.
Yeah, the thing that I love about Grant, it's all about the player too. And then, you'll see whenever we win a game, the basketball social media or somebody to tweet out, tough teams win, and that's what I love about him. It's all about how hard you play and the toughness you have. And so it's easy for me to pick up the phone and talk like that. He came and talked to the team during camp right before we broke camp, and they just absolutely crushed it. And I've used a couple times, just reminding our players, some of the things he said. And one of his big deals was it's all about the team. Like, how hard you play, it shows how much you care about each other, stuff like that.
I'm going to nitpick for a second here, Joey. This is the last one I got for you. I had to save it for last. The defense is obviously dominant. The offense has been very good, especially running the football, but 24 of 59 in the red zone, scoring touchdowns, 53.7%. It obviously came up. How do you fix that?
Yeah, man, that's been a killer. And it's kind of a little bit, we've had some penalties that we've got to continue to fix. We've gotten a lot better. We're still not where we want to be. I want to eliminate all pre-snap penalties, but We've gotten better. We've really moved. Whenever you look at the numbers, I look at the stats all the time and everything. That's whenever it comes to everything about football. And then we've got to catch the football. We had 2 back-to-back plays where we threw the ball in the end zone, and that's ball. It's just not the receivers. That's ball placement by the quarterback. And that's receivers. I mean, we had 2 drops back-to-back that you put that ball in, and now, instead of 13-0 at halftime, we go up 20-21-0. And so we got to make sure we do that. I mean, schematically, I think we have some good stuff. We just got to execute it at a higher level because we have to. You're not going to get away. We got lucky with BYU that we got away with that. You're not getting away with that, and especially when you start coming to 1-score games, you can't go and kick field goals and expect to win. I tell our defense that all the time. Make a kick field goals, they're not going to beat us.
Well
Texas Tech up to number 6 in the college football playoff rankings. Coach, if charisma could rush the passer, Joey McGuire would lead the nation in sacks.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Coach. Take care.
I appreciate y'all having me.
All right,
Wreck
see you,
'em.
Coach. Texas Tech Coach Joey McGuire here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. More to come on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. We'll take a look at some Big 12 basketball, what happened last night between Texas Tech and Illinois, and the curious case of Kansas guard Darren Peterson before we talk Utah Utes, and then the final whistle still to come here next hour on Big 12 Radio. You're dialed in exclusively on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios, powered by Modelo. Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo, exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. We had Arizona State head football coach Kenny Dillingham in hour number 1, and we just got off the horn with Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire. The Red Raiders are up to number 6 in the college football playoff rankings. If you missed either of those conversations, you can go back and hear them via your favorite podcasting platform right here. Tune in on demand, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It'll be there. And then on YouTube as well, our shows are archived each and every day via Big 12 Studios. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We've got Taman on the controls off to my left. Joey McGuire, he had so many interesting things to say. Number one, culture's never been an issue for him at Texas Tech. Even his first 3 seasons when they were going 8-5 and 7-6, he's 2-1 in bowl games at Texas Tech. Culture's never been a problem, so really it got me thinking, we should have seen this coming. They just have much better players now, and culture and locker room camaraderie is not going to be an issue.
Well, and coaching and leading programs is not something that's new to him either. And I think that was what made him such a unique candidate when Texas Tech hired him 4 years ago. He said this on game day, when he was interviewing with Kirby Hocutt, he told him, look, I've been overseeing a football program at Cedar Hill that has more players than you oversee as an athletic department. There's 600 kids playing football at all levels of Cedar Hill, and that was his job to oversee all of that, from the development all the way up to the top ranks. And so, that understanding of, early development, because that stuff, you're already in the junior high level, middle school level, before they even get there, which kids you're helping to develop, the nutritional piece. So when you think about a college football program now, there's a lot of different tentacles that you need that are similar to that of a high school football coach. And then he goes to Baylor under Matt Rule, and he coaches all different kinds of position groups. Yep. He coaches on offense. He coaches on defense. He coaches special teams. So it was the variety of coaching all around the football, not being one specialist. For me, if I'm hiring a coach in 2025, offensive and defensive schematics come and go. They come and go. It's ebbs and flows. It's leadership. It's the qualities that you now see in Joey McGuire that have been there this whole time. That's the type of coach I'm looking for. It's leadership. It's delegating. It's understanding, how to manage the psyche. McGuire was asked by Nick Saban, how do you keep this team even keeled? How do you keep them excited and at the task at hand? And I know Saban asked that because he was the master of doing that. And I love Joey's answer, and I'm assuming that Nick Saban agreed with the answer in that, this is no different than any other game. Talking about the BYU game and the prep for that, they've got their ways they win, and that is the same every single week. Everything's kept the same. The structure is the same. You're not changing things week to week. So players have an expectation of what's going to happen week to week. These are all just little parts that play into the big picture of why Joey McGuire is so successful.
Do you think that athletic directors should look at, or I guess give more serious consideration for hiring coaches that have had extensive success coaching high school football? Because that was essentially where Joey McGuire cut his teeth. And you're right, at Baylor he coached tight ends and defensive ends and outside linebackers, but he was a position coach before he was hired at Texas Tech. And then he started coordinating the defense towards the tail end of his Baylor tenure. But most of where he did the majority of his coaching from 1995 to 2016 was at Cedar Hill High School.
Mac Rhodes, who's the athletic director at Baylor and the College Football Playoff Committee chair, it's sort of ironic that he's the chair this year for the first time because he had an opportunity to hire Joey McGuire. When Matt Rule left, McGuire was there for Baylor to take. And so it's easy for us Monday morning quarterback this thing to be what a brilliant hire. So many different factors that went into this, but we're using hindsight to go back and decide why he's a good coach as opposed to, in the moment, understanding some of the reluctance that other athletic directors or administrators might have had. Well, he hasn't led a program at this level. That's the reason Baylor didn't hire him. Baylor let him walk out the door, and look what he's done at Texas Tech now. I can't imagine that makes Baylor fans happy in a year where this might be Dave Aranda's final as the head coach at Baylor. Baylor hired Aranda a year before Texas Tech hired Joey McGuire. So, again, it's easy for us to sit here now that he's having success and be like, look at all these things that went into what's making him successful. Why aren't other athletic directors or administrators or decision makers looking at those same things? Because, like, you're not going to hire a high school football coach to be your head coach in college football. So the unique skill set of Joey to have ascended up into a level of being a position coach, not taking himself too seriously to where, yeah, I'll leave Cedar Hill, become a position coach at Baylor. Sure, I'll do that. And then I think understanding, like, Texas high school football is just different, man. It's just different to where Joey McGuire could say, yeah, like in the program that I was leading, there were 600 kids that were in that program from junior high or middle school all the way up. Like, there's a power and understanding and, again, a similarity of college football that, yeah, I think they should. But, again, like, so easy to sit there and say, like, look at the success Joey McGuire's had. You're not going to find many Joey McGuires or trailers who Joey mentioned is one of his major confidants because Jeff Traylor, because like it takes a willingness to set your ego aside of being successful at the high school ranks, taking a position coach, taking a coordinator role to kind of prove you can do it at that level. I think that is important. You're not going to hire a college football coach straight from being a high school football coach. But to see some of the things that have made Joey McGuire successful, yeah, I think if you're a high school football coach that has aspirations of being an NFL or a college football coach, then you probably need to look at how can I get up that level? How can I get up to the college level to prove that I can be a college football coach?
Jeff Traylor should be a Power 4 college football coach. He had similar success in the high school ranks as Joey McGuire.
No, you're totally right.
They're really good friends. Now, will he get a
does
look
feel
this
like
offseason?
Hey, if anybody's looking for the next Joey McGuire, there's a guy that's got a similar resume, only now he's done it as a head coach and proven that he can do it as a head coach.
And they're 4
like he's a more proven head coach. Sorry to cut you off. He's a more proven head coach, Jeff Traylor is today. Joey McGuire was 4 years ago when he was hired.
Yeah, you're right. And he's a more proven football coach than a lot of guys that will get those jobs this offseason. He's been at UTSA. This is year 6. Now, they're only 4-5 this year, which probably hurts him. In fact, I talked to him about that coming into the season. And last year they went 7-6. Like, that doesn't wow people.
Why are they 4-5? Why are they 7-6? Because all their best players are playing at other schools now.
They had to overhaul all 11 defensive starters. And I think he said 5 of those guys are starting at Big 12 schools. They get gutted via the transfer portal.
I mean,
and he still gets guys like their running back, Robert Henry, who's one of the best running backs in the nation this year, to stay at UTSA for $150,000 where they could have had close to $1 million somewhere.
Their roster is gutted every year.
And he still has taken UTSA to 5 straight bowl games. 5 straight.
Yeah, I would not look at his record at all. But that's the thing is, like, so many people are enamored with it because so many administrators and athletic directors want to win the press conference. Mm-hmm. It's about winning the press conference. If you hire a coach from a UTSA program that's, probably going to be 6-6, right? I mean, I assume they're going to get to another bowl game this year despite being 4-5 right now. Like, you're not going to win the press conference. What, he went 7-5 at UTSA? Are you kidding me? Yeah, right. Because every year his roster is gutted.
Completely gutted.
It's amazing they're left with any good players. Honestly.
Yeah.
Like, even Houston to a degree. Like, Sheil Wood brought arguably his best defensive lineman with him, and look at how good their defensive line is again this year.
Yeah.
Houston is at the Power 5 level, but they also have their roster gutted seemingly every year. Mm-hmm. Their best corner left went to
AJ Halsey went to LSU.
LSU. They still have McCutcheon.
Yeah.
Like, how come nobody took McCutcheon? I'm glad he stayed. So, yeah, I mean, it's, to me, you have to put, like, there's a certain context that's involved here that's really important.
That I think gets overlooked. Very much so overlooked. Also,
well, it's like, how do you not, if you're an athletic director or an administrator, like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're idiots, and we see this. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, we're not paid to find good coaches.
Right.
And yet it's so easy and obvious for why, like, a Jeff Traylor is a great coach who's completely underappreciated and overlooked every year in the hiring cycle. Mm-hmm. We had a segment a couple weeks ago about, like, this narrative of, like, will some of these coaches be fired? Like, Auburn, it was like, will Auburn fire their coach? There's not a lot of good candidates out there. Like, what?
There's a million good coaches
How
out there.
How stupid and lazy are you?
You just have to know where to look. Also, Joey McGuire actually spent a year under Dave Aranda at Baylor.
That's right.
So he could have walked. He could have left.
He was overlooked for that job.
Overlooked for the head coaching job that
Great
Dave Aranda got, and he was humble enough to say, you know what, I'm going to stay here, be under him, coach the defense, and it sprung-board him to the Texas Tech job.
Yeah, and look, timing's everything, and I'm sure Baylor fans are wondering what might have been had Joey McGuire been hired, but the everything lined up perfectly for him at Texas Tech, and he's in year 4. A decade from now, we're going to be talking about a legendary run for Joey McGuire because it's all coming together now. His recruiting, like, they've done really well in the portal, and I think they'll continue to do so, but they're pouring the resources now into recruiting blue-chip prospects. They've got to then pour money into maintaining and keeping those blue-chip prospects. So Joey McGuire will be at Texas Tech for the long haul, and I think when it's all said and done, he'll be the best to ever coach at Texas Tech.
All right, I don't want to be a negative Nick here, but Joey McGuire grew up an Arkansas fan. He's from Texarkana, Texas. He's not a candidate for the Arkansas job, right?
No.
He doesn't even entertain that, right?
Well, I mean, why don't you ask him? We just had him on. Why don't you ask him that?
Didn't come to me at the time.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You're Joey McGuire. Are you leaving Texas Tech for... We asked Kenny Dillingham about this. What did Dillingham say?
I mean, Dillingham said I basically can't say it, but I'm staying.
No, but not. But what? Every coach wants to be able to win a national title.
Oh, yeah.
Could Joey McGuire win a title at Texas Tech?
Yes. Can he win one at Arkansas? I don't know that anybody can win one at Arkansas.
I mean, I would say yes, but why would you leave if you know you can win a championship at Texas Tech? And look, Arkansas has deep-pocketed boosters, Tyson, Walmart, right? Like big-time brands that so far have not been engaged in the program in the way that they would need it to in order for it to be as successful as it could possibly be.
Yeah, Sports Illustrated had an article yesterday about the estranged booster family, and they are the key to how successful the Hogs coaching search will be.
So think of your McGuire. Do you take, I mean, it's the old, the 2 in the hand beats 1 in the bush, right? I mean, it's like, I know I've got an engaged booster group. And by the way, even though the brands may not be as recognizable as Tyson Foods or Walmart, they've got as deep a pockets. I mean, they have multiple billionaires.
Exactly.
So, like, why could, other than, like, I grew up an Arkansas fan, well, who cares? You're a Texas Tech fan now. You can win a championship. You've got all the boosters. Like, you're fine. Otherwise, you've got to go to Arkansas, rebuild it, engage the boosters. Like, that's a lot.
You got to start over in a lot
Why
of
would
ways.
you leave? Yeah, you've got it rolling right now in a program that you've built. He's built it.
Yeah. And it's his, and he's not going anywhere. That's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This is Big 12 Today, Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. Coming up next, we grab the host of Locked On Utes, a live interview to talk Utah Utes football with J.T. Wistersill. He'll join us around the corner on Big 12 Today. We are powered by Modelo on TuneIn and Big 12 Studios. Welcome back to Big 12 Today here on Big 12 Radio, your official home for the Big 12 Conference with R.A. Timken. I'm James Westling, also streaming live on your screen on Big 12 Studios, YouTube, DirecTV, your Roku device, Amazon Prime. We're there. And we've got a first-timer here. We welcome in JT Wistersill from the Locked On Utes podcast covering all things Utah. JT, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
So how do we feel about the college football playoff rankings? Utah checks in at number 13. They did not move from the initial batch of rankings in this second installment. So what's been kind of your take on where the Utes currently sit?
I really like it. I mean, there's always that little bit of concern that is the committee that in the past has had bias for a bigger brand like a Miami. Hey, Miami starting to look a little bit stronger. Now, granted, the quality of a Syracuse team they beat, not very high, but we've seen this before where the big brands sometimes can leap some of the smaller brands. And I'm glad the committee left Utah where they were. They had a bye week. They didn't have a chance to improve their standing, but I do believe Utah belongs where they're at. I think you look at the level of dominance they've displayed on the season. They're one of just 3 teams in the country. It's Indiana, Tech, and Utah. They're in the top 8 of scoring offense and defense. This Utah team, yes, they lost to the 2 best teams they've played, but they've blown everyone else out of the water. It's been kind of just a weird season to see this level of dominance against lesser teams and then come up just short against a BYU. And obviously the Tech game got out of hand, but I'd also remind people that Tech game was actually a lot closer than the final score indicated. For most of that game, Utah was within striking distance. Then it kind of got out of hand in the fourth quarter. So I feel like this is a really talented Utah team. I feel like they belong where they're at. I'm pleased right now that they are at where they are. I feel like there was a reason, as we said, just with those big brands kind of rising up, they could have found one to try and move a Utah back. So I think Utah's got to be happy where they are right now. And at the end of the day, Utah needs to win out, and they need some help to get in. And not just win out, they need to dominate teams because this committee has clearly showed they value style points.
Yeah, what have you seen from Devin Dampier? I thought going into the season that his fatal flaw would be when a team forces him to have to throw the ball down the field, and Texas Tech did that. But I loved what I saw in the Cincinnati game. I thought that was his best, most complete performance in terms of throwing and running. What have you seen from Devin Dampier?
Yeah, I thought it was his best performance too. Against Texas Tech, we're hearing more now that he was closer to like 50%, which is why there was obviously the big controversy of, well, why was he not on the availability report? But he was clearly not right in that game. And even against BYU, it felt like he took some hits. And as that game went on, it's like, why is Devin Dampier not running? And then we see him end up missing the Colorado game because he wasn't quite right. The style he plays can sometimes lend himself to taking a lot of hits. But taking that game off against Colorado, coming back against Cincinnati, that extra week of rest did wonders for him. I really liked the way he threw the ball. I thought he was in command, and obviously he's one of the most dynamic QBs in the country. Last year, to run for 1,000 yards, throw for over 2,500 yards, only QB in the country to do that, and we've seen it a lot of times this year where that speed and athleticism has translated. Now, he's still growing as a passer, I feel like, at the P4 level, but it was nice to see him take some nice steps against Cincinnati. This also isn't the greatest collection of wide receiver talent, and I like Utah's tight end, Dallin Bentley, a J.J. Buchanan. Those are nice players too, but I mean, even like a Baylor's got a Michael Trigg, right? I don't think Utah has a tight end that caliber. I like Ryan Davis. I think he's really good, but it's also not your prototypical number 1 wide receiver. He's not the biggest guy out there. He's made plays over 600 yards on the season, but yeah, Dampier doesn't have the greatest talent on the outside that's going to create separation play after play. But he does have an offensive line that's going to give him protection and enough time to throw. I mean, this is one of the best offensive lines in the country, and because of the time that they give Dampier, it's hard to bring him down, and when that pocket's clean, he's been able to deliver throws. So I feel like last week was his best performance, and I feel like this Utah team in general, and part of the biggest reason being the most important position on the field, QB, is hitting their stride at the right time, going into a 3-game stretch, and what you could call 3 of the most disappointing teams in the conference. Utah should be favored in their final 3 games, but can they take care of business? That's what I'm excited to find out. But love the way that Devin Dampier has started to play, especially after that big performance against the Bearcats.
JT, you did a great job on the Locked On Utes podcast. You break down each week, Utah's recent outings, and you guys talked about the BYU game, and you posed the question, did Kyle Whittingham's decisions cost Utah that game against BYU? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I feel like they did. I don't know why Utah was so aggressive on 4th down that game. I actually didn't have an issue with the first 4th down. 4th and 1, it's still 0-0. You go for it there. But for Kyle Whittingham to be like, well, the analytics said on 4th and 7 to go for it. And I know the kicker had missed a couple of kicks, but and he's a true freshman, but I still would much rather have my kicker go on 4th and 7 when I don't understand how the analytics support you throwing the ball with your passing offense, which has not been impressive, especially throwing to a Tobias Merriweather who hasn't had the best of seasons. So I just think it was really interesting the tone he struck in that game and his decision making. Also, the decision on 4th and 3 when you could have kicked a field goal in that spot in that game too. I feel like that's absolutely what Utah should have done. I really think in a lot of ways, like I don't love whenever a team just loses assigning the blame to the coach, but I did think in the BYU instance, I think it was fair to point the blame at Kyle Whittingham's decision making in that game, because his whole analytic thing, he talked about how, well, if you actually kick field goals in the red zone, it's a loss, like analytically. Well, at the end of the day, when you don't score enough points to win, that's how you lose games. And Utah, by coming up empty on those trips, by not converting 4th downs, that also creates negative momentum. And momentum is so real in this sport. And I really feel like those decisions on 4th down were honestly what could end up costing Utah their season, because even if Utah wins out, they need help to get into the college football playoff. They need help to get into the Big 12 title game. So if you look back on the season, you're like, yeah, you lost to a Tech team that I believe is one of the 5 best in college football. That was just, I mean, Tech was a juggernaut. They knew all the coming into that game. A lot of people were saying things about Utah being favored in that game. Tech understood the assignment. They took care of business. But for you to outgain BYU by 100 yards, to have so many opportunities to be in that game, and you just come up short, and then even some of the plays we mentioned that they just didn't execute on. I thought it was a bad look, and I really think that was a Kyle Whittingham, to me, honestly has, like Ryan Day has a Michigan problem. In some ways, as of late, Kyle Whittingham is a BYU problem. He's quick to point out, well, we won 9 straight of them in a row, but we do live in a world, especially college football, what have you done for me lately? And Kyle Whittingham has come up short against BYU as of late, and I do believe it was a lot of his decisions on 4th down that cost Utah that game that, like I mentioned, honestly could end up costing this team a chance in the college football playoff.
Aside from, winning out, what do you think is the path for Utah to get a bid to the college football playoff?
Yeah, aside from winning out, honestly, what would be great is, we were just talking about BYU a little bit. If BYU could go undefeated, we'll see if they can do that. I think that's been a Cougars team that has been up and down on the season. Their biggest strength has been finding ways to win, right? So can they keep doing that? Potentially, but they got embarrassed in some ways against Texas Tech, not scoring until the 4th quarter, down by 20 plus for a lot of that game. But yeah, you need it, BYU to actually win out. I think BYU and Tech winning out would be great, and then Utah looks dominant. That's one way that Utah get in the college football playoff, and because you're not going to leave 2 one-loss regular season teams out of the college football playoffs. So there's BYU, there goes Tech. Well, Utah sitting where they're at 13. They need some chaos to happen ahead of them, but I think Texas is going to drop. They have games against Georgia and A&M. I think Oklahoma is going to drop. They have a tough game coming up against Bama. So there's opportunities there. And Notre Dame stumbling against Pitt would also really help this Utah team too. So we'll see if that works out. But there's actually a world the Big 12 does get 3 teams in. So that's one path. As for Utah's path to like a Big 12 title game, if a BYU did lose to a Cincinnati and then Cincinnati stumbles in another game, there's different scenarios that Utah can actually get into the Big 12, even though they lost the head-to-head to BYU, because it's kind of like a rock, paper, scissors thing where a Cincinnati beat a BYU, you beat a Cincinnati, BYU beat a Utah. Because Utah's like strength of opponent record could be better, Utah could get in. Utah would have a path to get in that way too. So there's a lot of weird conference title scenarios where Utah could still get in. I don't feel like Tech's going to lose another game, so I don't feel like that's a likely path for this Utah team is counting on a couple of Tech losses. But BYU tripling and stumbling, I think Houston's very vulnerable. Give them credit for finding ways to win, but that's a team that could slip up and lose as well too. And Cincinnati I like the Bearcats. I do think it's a top 25 team. I'm glad they're back in the rankings, but look, when you have a performance like you did up in Salt Lake City, it's hard to play in Utah, but there were warts that were exposed in that game, and I don't see Cincinnati finishing the year undefeated either. So there's lots of different pathways that Utah can get in, but the frustrating thing if you're Utah is you don't control your own destiny. So now you just got to try to win these games, and not just win, as we mentioned earlier, too. You got to dominate these teams because this committee values style points, hence why Utah is a top 15 team and above a 2-loss like a Vanderbilt, in my opinion, or Miami, because Utah doesn't have as bad losses, even if they don't have a win like a Notre Dame win that a Miami would have too. So there's a path, but Utah needs some help.
Yeah, really well said. JT Wistersill, host of Locked On Utes podcast, joins us here on Big 12 Today and Big 12 Studios on Big 12 Radio. So have we officially entered that time of year where we start speculating if Kyle Whittingham is going to come back next year or retire in Salt Lake City?
I think it's totally fair too. It's very interesting because people have said on my own show before that Kyle actually told the team last year that it was going to be his final year, and then obviously has like the worst year ever basically since he's been at Utah, and he decides to come back. So he just does nothing. Nothing about the way Kyle Whittingham approaches the press conferences, approaches these games, make me feel like this is his farewell tour. And coaches do that, right? Where like all of a sudden, like don't think anyone thought Bruce Pearl was going to retire based on last season, and he obviously waited a long time to announce it. But sometimes you can't tell with these coaches. I do think though there's definitely a chance this is Kyle's final year. I'm very intrigued by what he's going to do because he still seems to have that passion, that fire, and he actually played at BYU a long time ago, and now he's obviously synonymous with Utah for what he's done coaching wise. There is the part of me that wonders if he can go out on a loss to BYU. I don't know if he's going to want to do that. So I'm really curious to see how Kyle Whittingham approaches this year. Like last year, it made a lot of sense to exit stage left with Cam Rising leaving, Brant Keithy, a lot of these guys who'd been with the program and ushered in the one in some ways had been one of the most successful eras of Utah football with those back-to-back Pac-12 title and then the Rose Bowl appearances. But now you look at this team, Devin Dampier should be able to come back. Wayshawn Parker, Utah's really talented running back, should be back. Granted, you might lose all 5 starters on the offensive line, which is one of the best units in college football. So that'll be tough to replace. But there's a lot of reasons to believe this Utah team could be right back in this spot next year. So does Kyle want to return again? Also, though, Morgan Scalley, your head coach in waiting. How long does he want to sit in waiting, right? There's going to be a crazy college football coaching carousel. I think Morgan Scalley is one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. Year in and year out, this Utah defense is elite. And I think there could be some teams, whether it's G5, maybe even a P4, that are trying to see, hey, if Morgan wants to come over. So how long does he want to keep waiting? I think it's a very interesting situation. Right now, I may lean towards Kyle stepping away after this year, but he just doesn't seem like he wants to right now. He's all in on this season, he said. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I do feel like Utah is in good hands once Morgan Scalley does take over. But who knows how much longer we got Kyle Whittingham, because he's already changed his mind on this subject a couple of times.
Well, we're here for it. We're here for the popcorn, all the drama this offseason, but still a long way to go. Here in 2025 in Utah looks really, really good. JT, awesome stuff, man. We appreciate your time.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
JT Wistersill, the host of the Locked On Utes podcast, joining us here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios, the final whistle. Some Big 12 basketball coming up next as we wrap up the program with Ari. I'm James. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league.
Good.
I just meant for the replay to throw this segment in that we're recording.
Today on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios, the final whistle for this Wednesday edition of Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. We are powered by Modelo on this Wednesday, and college basketball, it is the final whistle. Texas Tech falls in a close one at Illinois. Not a bad loss last night, 81-77. But maybe the biggest story in college basketball is the curious case of Kansas guard Darren Peterson.
Yeah, Kansas hosted Texas A&M Corpus Christi, who you got to call their game against SMU last week.
Watch out for the Islanders.
Yeah, that game didn't prove much resistance for Kansas following their loss at North Carolina.
They almost beat SMU, though.
Wow.
So, I'm just saying Kansas without Peterson to beat a team by like 30 that almost beat SMU. It's a good showing.
But we found out shortly before tip-off that Peterson was in street clothes, and we know that Peterson has had some cramping issues. It held him out of their final exhibition game. But we didn't really know anything before the game, and then after the game, Bill Self basically addressed it, and here's what Bill Self said.
He played the whole game against Carolina, and then we were off Saturday, practice Sunday, practice Monday, and practice today this morning, but his hamstring was tight this morning, so I'm not going to risk that. So hopefully it's precautionary, on the reason why he didn't play. So I look forward to seeing him in practice on Thursday. So at least we think that's the case. But it was tight after he practiced today. We practiced this morning at 10 and he practiced. So we didn't anticipate this, but at the end of practice he said it was tight. So that told me no reason to go.
I mean, I think it's the right call to not play him. A tight hamstring, you don't want to. That can be a gnarly injury if it gets worse. In fact, I'd sit him as long as you can to have him back 100% for conference play. And I also like the fact that, Self went on to say that he told the guys, hey, I'm excited to watch you guys play because Darren's not going to be there. And Kansas still gets the 77-46 win.
Yeah, Marco Jackson played really well. And, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity for other guys to step up. They play Princeton this weekend. Then Kansas plays Duke, Notre Dame, Syracuse, UConn, Mizzou, and at NC State. That's the next month for Kansas. Duke, Notre Dame, Syracuse, UConn, Missouri, NC State.
All right, KU's 2-1. How many of those games can Kansas win without Darren Peterson?
Duke is fourth and UConn is third. Missouri is good. I don't know how good Syracuse, Notre Dame, and NC State are.
Notre Dame's bad. NC State's okay. Missouri's good. Syracuse is okay.
Okay, so 3. I'll say 4 because they're not losing 2 years in a row to Missouri. But I think your point's well stated. Like, you need Darren Peterson healthy and not with hamstring issues in March. So literally no reason to play him right now other than the optics of, losing a ton of games. But I think you also have to empower your team. Like, the biggest question about Kansas was, can they get scoring opposite Darren Peterson? So now you got an opportunity to kind of have a run here with guys that get consistent run. They're going to be counted on to play meaningful minutes and produce in a meaningful way. So it could be a good learning opportunity for Kansas if they take some lumps here in the non-conference. But they've got a brutal stretch coming up. And I think it's an easy call to say, well, it's Texas A&M Corpus Christi, easy to rest them. And, Princeton next, it's easy to rest them. Like, that's not exactly the arithmetic. It's there's no risk. There's no reason to risk it this early in the season, regardless of opponent. Had they played Duke last night, I'm sure he wouldn't have played. Yeah. So, it's the right call. It's the right decision. It's the right thing for Darren Peterson's long-term future. It's the right thing for the Kansas's long-term future.
I sit him as long as it takes.
It's troubling, though.
I don't care if it takes 2 months. I want him healthy for Big 12 play. And the NCAA Tournament Committee will very much be aware of the fact that he's not playing in certain games when they look at KU's resume. KU could end up with 6 non-conference losses. And if they have a healthy Darren Peterson for Big 12 play in the NCAA tournament, still end up a top 2, top 3, top 4 seed on Selection Sunday. Kind of like Arizona last year, who got a 4 seed. And remember, they were 4-5 in the non-conference at one point. They got off to a really slow start, and that wasn't even more injury-related. That was just a chemistry thing. With Peterson and his injury, KU could lose all of those games, and they're still going to be fine. I'd take the L's to get the wins later with him healthy.
Yeah, and look, Kansas should have enough talent and quality coaching to be a tournament team without Darren Peterson all year. Now, I'm not suggesting they're going to miss Darren Peterson all year, but that's worst-case scenario, right? He needs to be healthy, but there's a balance there between how many games he misses and having familiarity with the team, right? Like, so there's all different kinds of areas to navigate this. I think we're probably overreacting a little bit here to a tight hamstring that has him out one game. It was kind of a surprise. I don't think he's going to miss much time, but yeah, I mean, soft tissue injuries are things that can linger all year.
Right.
And Kansas has no shot to win a national championship this year, which is the expectation of Kansas fans every year if Darren Peterson's not healthy.
And it is, I mean, we are overreacting, probably, but also it's.
I just had Darren Peterson out for the entire year.
I mean, it is concerning, though, that this is an 18-year-old freshman, and he's going to be playing in the most physical league in America, where, I mean, guys get beat up in Big 12 play. The wear and tear of a season comes into play in the month of February, in the month of March.
Totally agree.
And sometimes it costs teams what could have been deeper runs. When you think about Big 12 teams in recent memory, Houston 2 years ago and the injury issues that they had because of their physical brand of basketball. So it is definitely something that will be a storyline all year long, and probably justifiably so because he's so impactful.
But I think the positive from last night is you blew out a team at Allen Fieldhouse, which is what you're expected to do, and we saw the emergence of some guys that are going to continue to need to be important factors for Kansas to reach their total goals this year. Cole Rosario is a guy that has not shot the ball particularly well to start this year. He played really well. Thought they got really good minutes from Elmarco Jackson. Bryson Tiller continues to be very, very good for them. So, that's the positive here is they've got to figure out ways to get other guys to be scorers, because otherwise, the Darren Peterson show is not going to be enough to get Kansas to where they need to go.
Yeah, there were times where it's like the other 4 guys on the floor just stand around and wait for Peterson to make a play.
Great point, James.
Thank you, Taman. That was very loud. The other game last night, Illinois beat Texas Tech 81-77 at home in Champaign. Illinois was up 45-32 at halftime. Texas Tech mounted a comeback but came up just short. Andrei Stojakovic, who is the son of former Sacramento Kings Pete Stojakovic.
Peja,
thank you. Did I say Pete?
Yeah, you said Pete.
First
Guys,
of all,
that's
you
just-
struggled to pronounce the last name.
Is it Stojakovic or Stojakovic?
Stojakovic.
Is it? You don't sound super confident.
No, it's
and you just said it 2 different ways.
Peja
Bitch.
Stojakovic. I remember when he was on the Mavs when he won a championship. It was
Peja.
Stojakovic.
Peja Stojakovic.
Peja, not Pete. Peja.
Pete Stojakovic.
I like Pete better. I remember Peja Stojakovic.
Very good player. Very good shooter.
Once again, I have to.
Mike Bibby
Ooh, can you
started
name that
at the
team?
point.
Yep.
Doug Christie at the 2.
Yep.
Peja at the 3. Chris Webber at the 4. And Vlade Divac at the 5.
Somebody get this guy a Modelo. He's a full-time fan.
He's a full-time fan.
Peja Stojakovic is from Croatia. Pete Stojakovic is from Chicago.
Very true. James, who was the coach?
The coach
Yeah,
of those Kings teams? Ooh,
it's a good one.
that is a good one. Hang on. Wasn't Paul Westphal.
No,
Wasn't PJ Carlissimo.
no.
And I don't know.
Rick Adelman.
Would have never gotten that one.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, Page's son.
Balled out.
Something we did not see happen very often. Page play defense. He had a block at the end of the game that saved him with Texas Tech up, down 3 points. Stojakovic had a block from 3-point line, so that was huge. And So, like, there's two parts of this game that really stand out. First of all, the fact that JT Toppin went for 35 and 11, so he looks good. Texas Tech erased a 13-point deficit in the second half by making 12 straight field goals. But there was a questionable flagrant foul called at the end of this game on Illinois with Texas Tech down 5. So they got 2 free throws and the ball back, and Illinois fans were up in arms in it. But I'd say the bigger story here is the fact that Texas Tech owned the paint and got very few calls that sent them into the free throw line. The foul line discrepancy in this game was glaring, and it's kind of, I guess, what you'd expect from a early season road game. Like you're just not going to get those calls. But yeah, Illinois fans are complaining about that horrible flagrant one that was called at the end that gave Texas Tech 2 free throws and the ball back. But even with those 2 free throws, Tech shot 4 free throws.
4 for the game.
23 for Illinois.
Yeah.
And the majority of Texas Tech's points came in the paint.
Yeah, they only made 6 threes in the game.
52 points in the paint. How could it be possible that you're only fouled 1 time the entire game for free throws? And then the other 2 were from that flagrant one that was called. That was kind of an egregious call. So, yeah, very questionable officiating at the home for the Fighting Illini. It seems like they try to make up for it with a bad flagrant one at the end, but still only 4 free throws. Texas Tech was minus 19 for the free throw line in terms of attempts.
Yeah, if you had told me that Texas Tech would only make 6 threes in the game, they went 6 for 22, shot 27% as a team, and that they would only go to the free throw line 4 times, and that Illinois would shoot 23, I would have told you they lost that game by 20.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of bright spots. And remember, they're kind of going through what they went through at the start of last year where they've had so many injuries, and they're still trying to build that chemistry and feed off of one another, and that part just isn't quite there yet. But here's what head coach Grant McCasland said about the lack of physicality in this game.
Give the Illini credit, man. They just were more physical than we were at getting to the basket and drawing fouls, and especially early and in good spots. You could tell they had a composure and a savvy level to them that really got us on our heels. I loved our response to start the second half. I thought our scrap level improved. It looked like to start the game, our guys were trying not to make a lot of mistakes, and we weren't trying to play the game to win. I know it sounds weird, but it looked like we were trying to play the game right. And when you're playing a great Big Ten team on the road, you better have an edge to the way you compete. And I did not think we had an edge in the first half. I thought we were playing hard, but we had a few stretches where we put it together and scrapped and put ourselves in position. And a big reason was JT. People are going to talk about scoring 35 points, but I thought his defense at stretches was exceptional. And that's where he's made big strides for us, and we'll keep getting better. I mean, this team isn't even scratching the surface of what we can do, and I'm excited about this, but respect to Coach Underwood for being shorthanded too, and they found a way to win the game. And I thought the reason why they did is because they ended up with 11 offensive rebounds and 23 free throws to our 4, and they earned it, and we got beat.
But they did show up in the second half. They played with that edge in the second half. Illinois was number 14 in the top 25.
Real quickly, in women's basketball last night, St. Joseph's beat Cincinnati. The Lady Bearcats under Katrina Merriweather are off to an 0-3 start. Eesh. And Rice knocked off Houston women's basketball last night for their first loss of the season, 70-56. And finally, G League center Abdullah Ahmed has committed to BYU. 22 years old, has been cleared by the NCAA, and is expected to have between 2 and 3 years of eligibility remaining. Chose Kevin Young over Houston.
But he's not going to play this year.
He's going to play this year.
He is going to play. I thought I read he wasn't going to play this year.
Okay,
he had a red shirt, but he'd be eligible next year and still have 2 or 3 years left.
You're right. That's right. Yep, that's it.
So he'll be 23 next season. All right, that's going to put a wrap on this edition of Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. We're back mañana on a Three Things Thursday. He's Ari, I'm James. Taman over there for Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. This has been our program brought to you, the Full-Time Fan, by Modelo. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league.